Heaven on earth. That's how the late Paul Newman described Virginia International Raceway. This world-class track carved into the red Virginia clay is a breathtaking 3.37-mile winding tour through the Virginia countryside that has challenged drivers and thrilled fans since it opened in 1957. And today it is the site of the 8th race in the 2023 Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS season. This is VIR. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside, and it is Amanda Busick down in the pit lane for us. It's a pleasure to have your company. Race 2 of the weekend, race 8 of the season. And standing down among the grid of GT3 cars is our Amanda Busick.
And standing among me are all the fans here to take in that slice of heaven here at VIR. You'll see the 17 GT3 cars lining the grid here as we get ready for race number 2 of the weekend. One of the things that I know we're going to dig into, if you look at the top 7 cars, they are represented of the 7 manufacturers that are racing here this weekend with us. And to look around a lap here at Virginia International Raceway, our very own Calvin Fish has us covered.
Welcome to the Fanatec Fast Lap. Let's take a closer look at what it takes to be quick around this beautiful 3.27 mile circuit here at VIR. Turns 3 through 5 here at VIR is a very technical and complex series of corners. It starts with the approach here. You can see the curvature to the racetrack. You're never really in a straight line as you try to get things slowed down. Approach speed in a GT3 car is going to be about 115 miles an hour in 4th gear, down to 3rd gear. Don't overslow the car on entry, trying to get down to this apex curbing here. But let's take a closer look at these curbs here at VIR. This is what you're going to see around the majority of this race circuit. Kind of 2 phases to it. There's this bare concrete phase, let's call that the teeth, and then this FIA curbing, that's really the molars. That really has some bite to it. If I put my shoe in here, you can see they're pretty deep. You'd think they're too aggressive to use, but the way the deflection of the Pirelli tire works and also the way the cars will be set up for the drivers and the teams, they're going to try and ride those bumps here. It's really important to lap time to achieve that. One of the most iconic corners here at VIR is, of course, Oak Tree. We lost that famous Oak Tree back in 2012, but it still remains one of the most important corners on this racetrack. Exit speed here is critical. If you can carry a little bit more speed off here, it's going to carry you all the way down Madison Avenue and maybe make an overtaking opportunity into the roller coaster. But I think an even more important corner here is the preceding one, turn 11. As you can see, it's uphill. It gives you a lot of confidence into that brake zone. You're going to be charging this corner at about 130 miles an hour, coming in 4th gear down to 2nd. This is really an extended brake zone all the way through this corner. But the key is you've got to have the car lined up correctly with the outside curb. If you cross over here with a car compared to the curbing here, it's going to really load up that left front. As we get deeper into the race this weekend, you're going to see a lot of these little marbles here will form on the outside of the circuit. That gives you very little grip. And if you try to turn in and get to that apex, you can run out wide and end up in that tire barrier on the exit. Well, Bathurst has the Dipper, Laguna Seca has the Corkscrew, and here at VIR we have the roller coaster. And boy, is it a lot of fun. The approach speed down Madison Avenue is going to be about 165 miles an hour. Very tricky brake zone there. And then you've got to tip it into the gates. I look at this section of the racetrack like a slalom skier. You want to hit your gates as you're coming through there. Trimming these curbs as you're coming through this corner. As you can see, it's downhill. It's like a runaway train you've got to take control of through this section of the racetrack. If you get a little bit offline, the key is really controlling that with the throttle, the weight transfer of the car to keep the car pointed in the right direction. If you can finish it off through hog pin, that is a tremendous lap here at VIR.
Here to Virginia International Raceway, affectionately known as VIR. 17 competitors will try to tame the 17-turn, 3.27-mile facility. And in the words of Paul Newman, if there is a heaven on earth, it is VIR. But don't take our word for it. One of those competitors looking to conquer VIR is none other than our championship leader, the RS1 Porsche of Stephen McAleer and Eric Filgaris. However, that Racer's Edge Acura has put themselves right back in competition, picking up the overall win at COTA. MDK Motorsports are going to try their hand this weekend in Bimmer World. Oh, guess what? It's their home race. With 4 wins on the season, Elliott Skier and Adam Adelson continue to lead the Pro-Am category, but that battle for second, hello to Colin Brown and George Kurtz. Derek DeBoer is right there as well, and with their success at COTA, say hello to Jan Halen and Charlie Luck by name and by nature. He's really talented here. They are rounding out that battle for second. Welcome to the Pro-Am category. Your Fanatec GT rookie Anthony Bartone, who his co-driver, joins the series for the first time, Adam Christodoulou. A full paddock here at VIR also includes the Pirelli GT4 series with GT America powered by AWS and TC America powered by Skip Barber. Toyota's GR Cup returns to us this weekend, and every single one of these drivers are going to want to make it right here. You know, the top step of a podium is closer to heaven.
So many stories to look for throughout the course of this 90-minute race that is upcoming. Look at that ambiance down on the grid. Right there you see the Halifax County drumline from Halifax County High School just adding to the atmosphere as we get closer and closer to the command to start engines. One of the stories certainly is the return of Turner Motorsport to the grid, and it's Robbie Foley starting on pole. Amanda has caught up with the pole sitter.
Well, Robbie and I were right here when the Halifax Marching Band just came through here, taking in some of the sights and sounds. You just signed an autograph on pit lane as well. Calvin Fish took us for a lap around VIR, and you were telling me how it's such a great course for horses, for courses. Where do you have to perfect a lap here?
I think there's a few key spots. For us, turn 5, leaving out of the lower S's, you need a very good exit there onto the long straight. And equally out of the last corner, a good exit onto the front straight. So our car loves high-speed corners, the high-speed committed corners, so VIR is a great track for us.
The top 11 drivers are separated in less than a second. The first half of this race is going to be a nail-biter. How do you keep it up front? Yeah,
it's going to be tough. A lot of fast guys behind. Our car's really good on one-lap pace and pretty good over the long run. So I think the key is going to be getting a good start, getting kind of a little bit of a gap for some breathing room, and then just clicking off consistent laps. Any little mistake and these guys are going to pounce. So just got to keep it clean and try to hand the car to Vin with a good lead.
Good luck today.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Wonderful to have Robbie Foley back, Turner Motorsport back as well on the grid, and so nice for him to share the car here in the GT level for the first time, GT3 level, with his longtime benefactor, Vin Barletta.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of races together, got great chemistry. Vin did an awesome job in GT America this morning. His lap times were sensational. So for on debut at this level, he's done a really solid job. He's kept the car in one piece. They're sharing that car between the two championships, so that was very important.
As Amanda alluded to, super tight in qualifying here for race number 2. What do you expect off the start?
Well, I think certainly the BMWs look strong, and I think Robbie hit the nail on the head. He needs a good, clean start. Otherwise, Colin Brown, about this CrowdStrike Racing entry, is going to be trying to pounce and follow up on the Pro-Am victory that he and George Kurtz had yesterday. They're on a roll. They won at Le Mans last year in prototype competition. Big win yesterday. That's really a big points game for them in the championship as well.
Pro-Am cars first and second. In fact, inside of the top 10, there's only one Pro Class car to be found, and that's the Racer's Edge Acura. Coming off of a difficult day yesterday, it's been a bit of a challenging weekend. Ashton Harrison had some wall contact in practice a few days ago. Didn't have the pace yesterday, except for in qualifying, where Mario Farnbacher put that car on the Pro Class pole and will start third overall with a huge buffer back to the next closest car in class. That's the Bimmerworld BMW that is set to start in the 11th spot. Pre-race festivities continue. Let's go trackside for the national anthem with Christy Wilkins.
Your hats is here to honor America, Coswell County's own Christy Wilkins. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly
Christy Wilkins with the stirring rendition of the American National Anthem, color guard provided by the Dan River High School Junior ROTC. Always exciting moments in the build-up to any race, Calvin, these pre-race festivities, but now it's time to strap those helmets on and get into the race car.
It is. It's a game face time, so that's important for these drivers now to really get into their zone, get ready to go. There's some drivers who had great success here yesterday, like Daniel Morad, who scored the victory along with his teammate Kenton Cook. He starts way deep in this pack, only qualified 13th, so he's on the back foot. He'll be looking to make some moves early, as will Bill Oberlin, who finished in the runner-up position, had the lead, had that little bobble in turn 5. Otherwise, Bimmerwald may have got their second victory of the season, so he's going to be looking to be on the attack early as well.
Very true, and in fact, that leads us nicely into a look back on what happened less than 24 hours ago. Race 1 of the weekend for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, here at VIR, and it was Kenton Cook making his debut in this championship, who started on pole for TR3, drove around there at the front of the field, able to hold the lead. Big moment there, though. Derek DeBoer nearly went around after contact. This was a really nice fight here between a Pro Class car in the BMW and the leading Pro-Am car.
Yeah, this is a really nice dice here. You can see the Bimmerwald car takes a little bit of an attack, but can't get by Kurtz at that point of the game.
Kenton Cook, Daniel Morad, the leading duo for the bulk of this race, but plenty of drama happening behind. Cook had that early lead. This was the battle here once again between Chandler Hull and George Kurtz. Ultimately, after several laps, Hull finally was able to make the pass down at the end of Madison Avenue.
Yeah, I think Kurtz just let him go, knowing it was a battle for class. Then we see Kenton Cook, after a brilliant opening stanza, comes into the pit box, hits the wrong marks here, cost him about 5 seconds. That really tightens things up as they exit pit lane, as you can see.
First weekend with the team, so you could excuse a little confusion. Daniel Morad had the radio antenna hit him in the eye in the brake zone for Oak Tree. That caused him to go off track, and that let Bill Oberlin through for the lead in the Bimmerwald car. But then, this very surprising moment from Oberlin, he goes off, Morad sweeps past and back to the lead of the race.
Yeah, he just eats up a little bit too much of that curb there on the inside of turn 5. It's kind of rutted there, and it kind of sent him across the road.
Big moment here from Daniel Morad. It almost all went away in that moment, but he was able to correct the slide and fended off the challenge from Bill Oberlin to take the overall win in TR3's first Pro Class race of the 2023 season. Big celebration for the TR3 Racing stable after a hard-earned win. That's Daniel Morad getting a hug from team owner Gregory Romanelli. They'll look to try and back that up here today, but they start towards the back of the field. They've got a lot of work to do. Not so for the number 93 Racer's Edge car. And it's Amanda Busick standing by with Ashton Harrison, who will be taking that car over from Mario Farnbacher.
And Ryan, in the Pro-Am category, or they will be here at the top. And Ashton, I want to go back to yesterday. There were some issues. The 93 Acura making its way to pit lane a couple have those been sorted overnight?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, we worked with Pirelli really hard, and they've been really great to getting us information so that we can be better prepared. It sounds like we weren't the only manufacturer that was having that issue with the left rear. So, you know, it's a new day. We're hoping that everything goes as planned. We're starting in a really good spot. Mario put in a killer lap for qualifying, and you know, the rest of the Pro Class is a little bit further back. So I'm hoping that we do a repeat of COTA, but at the same time, you know, the Racer's Edge team has just done an amazing job helping us get back into the front, and so that's where we want to stay.
As Ashton just mentioned, there will be a couple cars separating the Pro entry of the 93 Acura to that BMW entry of Bill Oberlin, who starts in 11th. But in between them are a couple of the Pro-Am lineups, and one joining us here this weekend. Neil Verhagen, finding your way on podium already. Why did you know the success was going to happen so quickly with this pairing?
Yeah, I think the teams deserved it. They've definitely been up there. They've been just at it, but we just need a little bit of luck to fall our ways. Luckily for me, it was my first race here. The luck fell our way. We were able to get it done, so happy for the crew, happy for Samantha, happy for everybody here that we were able to do it.
Samantha, I love seeing you all weekend, celebrating with other people celebrating. When you find yourself on the podium, do you take in these moments just as strongly?
Yeah, I think so. Yesterday, I literally almost cried on the grid because, as you've seen, we've had a lot of bad luck, even though we've been, you know, we had a lot of strong pace in the past few weekends. And so yesterday was just really special for us. It all came together. We've been working so hard, and finally the results came. So Very, very happy.
Well, I have to ask you, how were those tears on the podium at Paul Ricard?
That too, that was amazing. Second at Paul Ricard with Rinaldi Racing. John, who's here, my team manager, it was just absolutely incredible.
Congratulations. Well, as we mentioned at the top of the show, there are 7 different manufacturers represented here in the top 7. And the one in the Ashton, as you see that hug between Derek DeBoer and VHC, guys, I know there's a lot of expectations as we kick off the race here at Virginia International Raceway. Derek, what a season that you are having. The Ashton here, where does it perform well?
It's just good everywhere. This car is such a dream to drive, and where we're hoping it'll perform well today is at the front of this pack.
I see a lot of drivers suited up, getting in. You can hear those Pirelli tires going onto this GT3 machinery. It is almost time for green flag, guys.
Getting close, that's for sure. Tires out of the tire ovens being secured onto the race cars. Drivers starting to climb aboard as well. The car that will start on the outside of the front row here today is going to be the CrowdStrike by Riley car. Colin Brown, a great qualifying effort for race 2. Similar story in race 1 for George Kurtz. And George will be the second driver to jump aboard here today. A class winner at Le Mans just 1 week ago. And Calvin, he's been driving all kinds of different race cars here as of late.
Yeah, you wonder what the founder and CEO of CrowdStrike, is one of the world's largest cybersecurity corporations, does in their spare time. But besides winning at Le Mans, besides winning here yesterday, well, last year they had the opportunity to join Lewis Hamilton at Circuit of the Americas, and with their association, CrowdStrike with the Mercedes AMG Petronas Formula One team, George had been in the simulator. I was with Anthony Davidson last weekend at Le Mans. He said he did a super job. He takes it really seriously. And he said, let me tell you, in the GT3 car, he was actually a few tenths quicker than Lewis Hamilton, believe it or not. And then there was his turn behind the wheel of this Formula One car. And he got up on the wheel, literally. He wasn't cruising around. He did some solid laps. He also had another outing in the later iteration, the W12 car, the last championship winning car that Mercedes have delivered just a few weeks ago at Silverstone, and there he lapped within 8 tenths of George Russell, believe it or not. So George is certainly enjoying life. The team really appreciates the support that he gives to that Formula One team, and after this run, they were pretty enthused about the performance that he'd laid in there.
That's right. So had the run at Silverstone recently. This, though, was the run about a year ago at Circuit of the Americas. Big round of applause from everyone at that Mercedes AMG Petronas team. And let's hear from the man himself now. George Kurtz is with Amanda.
Ryan, I don't think this guy takes much time off, and especially when it comes to race cars. You talk about the weeks that you've had at hand. We just saw you in an F1 car, but I want to talk about today's race with you too. But man, in 2 weekends, the CrowdStrike 24 hours of Spa. Can you even wait for it, George?
I'm really excited about that. Obviously, we had good luck last year winning our class, and we've been on a bit of a roll. So this year we're doing it with Colin. I've done it in the past with him, and we're back together with some great drivers lineup, and I couldn't be more excited. And I'm going to be doing it with the Riley team embedded in the SBS team.
You and Colin picked up victory here yesterday. You'll start from the first row. Talk about the competition that you're seeing in the Pro-Am category this season.
Well, I mean, any Pro-Am car could win Pro-Am, and I almost think any Pro-Am car could win the whole race. So we've seen some of that. We've been fortunate. It's super stacked this year. I think it's great for SRO. It's great for the fans, and just to have such a big grid and consistent players and competition has been, I think, you know, it ups the game for this season.
Well, I bet that'll be upped here today for the second race at Virginia International Raceway. Good luck, George.
George Kurtz, Colin Brown, a great drive yesterday, finished on the top step of the podium in their class. And George Kurtz ran second overall against some pretty stout drivers in that opening stint. Super impressed with the progress that George Kurtz has made, and now you start to see the race wins are adding up, and including in some major races globally.
He's on a roll right now, as you can tell. So he's certainly got a lot of momentum. He's got a lot of confidence in the setup that Riley have given him this weekend. So looking forward to seeing what they could do here today.
Yeah, for sure. Have a great chance to go for glory, not just in the Pro-Am class, but overall. They have already won a couple of races overall as a Pro-Am entry over the course of this season, starting second, only behind the number 96, 096 from Turner Motorsport. That is not a full season entry, making its season debut here today. This is Charlie Luck. Wright Motorsports is the team. struggled yesterday. Both cars had issues, both the one that Charlie Luck and Jan Halen share, as well as the Adam Adelson Elliott Skier car that had some mechanical gremlins in both Fanatec GT as well as GT America. But that car ran flawlessly earlier today in the GT America race, so that bodes well. ST Racing, those familiar colors on the BMW. It'll be Neil Verhagen, series debutant, set to start that car here for race 2 of the weekend. Well, one of the great stories this weekend has been TR3 Racing, and Kenton Cook, who won overall yesterday, is with Amanda.
I have to tell Cal, he did appreciate you saying in the winner's interview to let that mistake go. You made a joke of it and said, well, I won't miss my pit box today. You will be starting the second half of this race. And just thinking about getting back into that Mercedes with victory on hand again, Daniel, a little bit back in the grid. What's possible?
A win is possible. Obviously, anything is possible, given the length of the race that we have today. And we have Daniel in the car, so obviously, yeah, I don't think I can choose someone better than him to be in the car at this point. Then I'll get in, and I think we have some tools in our shed that we can have for strategy for this race, so I think we'll be all right.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
It's great to hear from Kenton Cook there. It'll be Daniel Morad who will be starting the car here today, Calvin. What a great performance from that team yesterday. First race of the season in the pro class. Ziad Gondor, normally Daniel Morad's co-driver, on a pre-scheduled family vacation. He couldn't be here, but he gave the team the resources to go racing in his absence.
Yeah, they really did a solid job because they didn't do a lot of testing midweek like a lot of the other teams did, and they rebounded nicely. Morad had that little off there in Oak Tree Corner, which was not ideal, but he rebounded nicely, and he found a rhythm with the car. He was under pressure initially when Orblin just dropped back that extra car length. Then he found the groove and he brought it home.
Really remarkable performance for them. I do believe we hear engines fired down there pit side, which means we are very close to going racing here for the second time of the weekend at Virginia International Raceway this season. Just past the halfway mark now, Calvin, and championship pictures starting to come into perspective.
Yeah, very much so. There we saw the RS-128 machines. The first weekend this year that they have not won race 1, but they still put a really solid run together. Top 6 finish was important for them for the points. Today it'll be Stephen McAleer starting this car, so they're in damage limitation here in terms of the points. They still have the lead, but they need a really solid run here today. They were saved a little bit with the 93 car having their issues, of course.
Cars roll off of pit lane and head out onto the track for the first of 2 formation laps to be run behind the Toyota GR Supra safety car. Gives us a chance to look at the starting grid. Couple of Pro-Am cars sweeping the front row. Vin Barletta, well, actually, that'll be Robbie Foley starting that car alongside Colin Brown, who starts on the outside of the front row. Now we go down to row number 2. And starting on the second row of the grid will be the first car in the pro class. That's the Racer's Edge Acura. Mario Farnbacher, we heard from his co-driver earlier, Ashton Harrison. What a tremendous qualifying performance from Mario. Super Mario there in 3rd overall, quickest of the pro class runners. Jan Halen from Wright Motorsports will start in the 4th spot. Go ahead and head down to the 3rd row now, where you find Neil Verhagen, his series debut coming this weekend. Strong yesterday, really good pace. You'll have the rapid French Aston Martin factory driver Valentin Haas-Clos starting alongside in 6th. In row 4, Ryan Dial from Scotland, Triarci Competizione, the team, alongside Adam Christodoulou, also making his series debut this weekend for the Real-Time Racing Bartone Brothers Racing outfit. That's a Mercedes-AMG GT3. Row number 5, starting 9th, will be Corey Lewis, who co-drives with Jeff Burton. Next to him will be Elliott Skier, who co-drives with Adam Adelson in that Pro-Am class entry. Bill Oberlin gets the start today for the Bimmer World team alongside Conquest Racing's Alessandro Balzan. That's row number 6. Row number 7, we'll see Daniel Morad, a winner yesterday, but coming from deep in the pack today, starting alongside Stephen McAleer, rather, in that RS1 entered Porsche that he shares with Eric Filgaris. Then we go to the 8th row of the grid, where you'll find Spencer Pompelli and Pedro Torres. Spencer starting the car for race 2. Trenton Estep will start the MDK car he shares with Seth Lucas in race 2 this weekend, back in the 16th starting spot. And out at the back of the field, Scott Smithson had the issue in qualifying. Brian Sellers will start the car from the 17th starting position for DXDT Racing.
Yeah, a lot of work to do, and it's a shame for DXDT because the car was really quick. Smithson was actually 5th fastest until he had his little off there coming through Hog Bend, and with that off didn't allow Brian Sellers to get a qualifying run in the second session. So they have some pace potential, but it's a deep field with a lot of really quick drivers. Not going to be easy work for Sellers to cut his way through this field.
The race format, 90 minutes, mandatory pit window right smack dab in the middle, full service pit stops, tires, VP Racing fuel, and the driver change, of course, as well. And this is a beautiful racetrack, Calvin. You gave us the tour earlier. It's a pretty special place, and now we're looking at a wonderful onboard view with Trenton Estep on the MDK Motorsports Porsche. The co-driver for Trenton Estep is young Seth Lucas, who's standing by with Amanda Busick.
And they found the podium for the 5th time this season yesterday. And Seth, I have to ask, how close to you guys are knocking on that first win?
Oh, it's very close. We've been consistently 3rd, which isn't terrible. Obviously not very nice, but we're definitely making our way up there. We're figuring out some setup stuff, but overall it's going really well. We're pretty content with the points we're at right now.
I was talking to your team, and I was hearing that there's big plans for young Seth Lucas. What are some of those goals?
Well, next week we'll be racing at IMSA at the 6 hours at the Glen, so that'll be very exciting. We're kind of just exploring in any really direction that we could go to, so looking forward to that.
Good luck here today.
Thank you.
Young man who does not have much GT racing experience, jumped into the GT3 ranks at the tail end of the year last year, ran the Indy 8-hour in an M-Class entry and won his class, done a little bit of GT3 racing in the off-season, and has slotted in very nicely in the Mark Kwame-owned MDK Motorsports team alongside Trenton Estep.
And with that 5th podium of the season that they achieved here yesterday, that closes them up to within 5 points of 2nd place in the championship. The 93 car having some issues here yesterday.
On board with TRG Racing, this beautiful blue Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3, Valentin Hasclo, who has impressed in every chance he has gotten in SRO America competition, including a couple years back running a handful of races in Pirelli GT4 America, but then coming stateside to run some GT3 races here this year alongside Derek DeBoer. It's never a surprise to see him running at the front.
No, he's a real talent, and certainly got the eye of Aston Martin Racing over the last couple of seasons, so now he's one of their drivers. But I think he's also really helping out Derek DeBoer to learn the ropes at this GT3 level of racing. Derek had only had one real opportunity to drive this type of race car, and that was many years ago, so he's stepped up. I mean, Derek's doing a really solid job. Had a little bit of argy-bargy yesterday, which hurt the result a bit, but nonetheless, he's got a big smile on his face. He's really enjoying this opportunity to drive alongside the Frenchman.
And frankly, he was on the receiving end of a lot of that argy-bargy. It put him on the back foot, but a decent recovery, all things considered, yesterday for that TRG Racing team to finish just off the Pro-Am podium in 4th, and they've got a chance to fight to do even better than that here today. Toyota GR Supra safety car has the lights extinguished. It will accelerate away and head towards the pit lane. Turner Motorsport back in the championship for the first time in 2023, and Robbie Foley has that bright yellow BMW on the overall pole. Colin Brown starts alongside. That's row number 1. Mario Farnbacher and Jan Haywood in row number 2 as they enter the VP acceleration zone. The green flag waves. And we are racing here at VIR. Foley consolidates that lead. 2nd place to Brown. The fight is on for 3rd and 4th. And it's Halen who has the advantage right now over Farnbacher in the Porsche.
Yeah, that lime green colored Porsche gets the sweep around the outside of Mario Farnbacher. Verhagen there having a nice solid start. Slots into 5th, but he's under pressure down at the inside.
Ken Mooney, president of Rover USA, waving the green flag to get us started. Great getaway by the pole sitter, Robbie Foley. Looking right back at home in this championship. Big battles here deeper in the pack. It looks like Alessandro Balzan's going on the attack.
He is trying to put the pressure on there on McAleer. Nice clean opening lap there. Looks like Orblin may have made some ground here on the opening lap as well in the white BMW, the Bimmer World number 94.
Under the bridge and up through the climbing S's for the first time. Up at the top of the hill to South Bend, and then the run down to Oak Tree Corner.
Great start here for Robbie Foley. See Jan Halen there taking the shallower entry to Oak Tree. Wait for those tires to come in before you start to explore the boundaries of the racetrack and the grip levels.
Looked like Verhagen's got a run. That's the 5th car in line, the light blue colored ST Racing BMW. Big run on Mario Farnbacher. We go on board with him.
In the slipstream, here he comes, Neil Verhagen, looking left, looking right, not sure where to go. Farnbacher was on the prowl himself, trying to plot a course around the Belgian Jan Heylen.
Farnbacher there, just using his years of experience there just to deter the young American from making a move there into the brake zone for the roller coaster. Racers edge up for a more solid day. Had a couple of unscheduled pit stops here yesterday. Let's see this BMW. Might have the edge in top speed here as they come down the front straightaway. Big lead on the opening lap for Robbie Foley.
Foley doing exactly what he came here to do, run at the front of this field for the Turner Motorsport team. A lead of nearly 1 second after the first racing lap. Colin Brown slots into second place right behind. Then it's Jan Heylen. Pro-Am cars running 1, 2, and 3. Then you get to the lead car in the Pro class, Mario Farnbacher, who has dropped a spot to 4th and coming under pressure for 5th overall, 4th and 5th overall in the balance, that Farnbacher-Verhagen battle.
Great start there for Corey Lewis aboard the number 91 DXDT Racing Mercedes. He's up to 6th from 9th on the grid, so a really solid start there. You can see him in between the blue BMW and the blue Aston Martin of VHC.
VHC hunting right now. Corey Lewis in the Burton Lumber sponsored Mercedes from DXDT Racing shares that car with Jeff Burton.
We talked about the problems for the sister car with Smithson putting in an excellent lap and then coming through hog pen late in the qualifying session, but I really feel this team is starting to chip away at the deficit that they have to some of the other Mercedes runners in this field, and it's starting to showcase itself here in the early stages of race 2 this weekend.
This is something akin to a home track for DXDT based down the road in Charlotte, North Carolina. Meanwhile, Verhagen pokes the nose in on Farnbacher, nearly forces an error. Farnbacher flirting with the edge of the track with the edge of adhesion.
Oh, this is risky stuff right there, side by side. Farnbacher has to give it up. A brilliant move by Verhagen.
Well, no reason to fight too hard. Again, these are cars from different classes. Verhagen, though, needed to clear Farnbacher if he was going to have a chance to fight with the rest of the Pro-Am field. That now runs 1, 2, 3, 4 overall.
Well, Ashton Harrison talked about the fact that Mario put in a flyer in qualifying yesterday, and more importantly, a big gap back to the nearest pro runners in this field. But Oberlin's had a solid start. He's up to 9th from 11th on the grid, so he's still about 5 positions back of Mario Farnbacher right now, but he's sort of like in his sights. He can see him. And that BMW's been strong here this weekend. Let's take another look, see how this develops. This is down Madison Avenue into that brake zone. Mario just takes it in super deep there. That gives the Verhagen car the run through the roller coaster, but watch this cutback here. Tucks it to the inside. That is a power move. Great stuff.
First pass I think we've seen there all weekend across all the SRO America series that have been racing here. Really nifty maneuver by the young American Neil Verhagen, BMW factory driver. Certainly someone to keep your eye on. Hasn't done much racing stateside since he was really young, racing single-seaters. Went to Europe to chase the single-seater dream.
He's wide.
Oh, he was able to keep it on track, though. That was close to disaster.
That's that corner we talked about in the track description in terms of if you get in wide through turn 11, it's really hard to get the car pointed back at the apex. Let's watch and see how it happens. Just ticks the curb there. Then you'll see him come into view here very, very wide. Farnbacher's wide as well, and Lewis goes through.
Change in position there, with Farnbacher now dropping down to 6th overall. Bill Oberlin getting that much closer with each passing lap to the leader in the Pro class. It looks like Farnbacher is laboring behind the wheel of this 93 Acura.
Yeah, even though Mario put in that flyer in qualifying to line up 3rd on the grid, I think the car does not have the pace of some of the other manufacturers here this weekend. So this is going to be a heavy, heavy toll to keep that position here for Mario Farnbacher. You can see now Oberlin's only 3 cars back, 2nd in the Pro class right now.
VHC has started to close in, as has Ryan Dial. That's this number 33 Ferrari 296 GT3. Dial's been awfully quick here in this car in recent events as the team starts to wrap its head around this brand new Ferrari GT3 platform.
Triazzi Competizione team. Got some great team personnel there, excellent engineers, and as you said, they gradually get their heads around the setup on this new 296 that debuted this year in GT3 competition. But Dial was absolutely flying at Coda. He had great pace here yesterday. Coming from middle of the pack, but the car looks solid right now.
Rock solid. But he has Bill Oberlin sitting just behind in that big old BMW M4 GT3, second year of that car. BMW moving on from the M6 platform last year. This car has proven immediately to be a contender for race wins.
See Oberlin there up on the wheel, just keeping that curve, going through the corner, just hands locked in. The trouble is, if you get a little bit wide and you ask for more steering input, it's like someone pulls the rug from underneath your front tires. Pressure is on, DL. Oberlin with a big run.
Again, two cars not in the same class, all to GT3 specifications, every car in this field. However, this is a pro class car. Bill Oberlin right now running behind one of the top cars in Pro-Am, Ryan Dial. That has to factor into the equation in terms of how they elect to race one another. Right now, all the Pro-Am lineups do have their pros strapped behind the wheel.
Looking at the fastest laps here. Farmbach has responded here a little bit, so he's going quick. This is tight down into the horseshoe.
Dial got just a little wide on entry. Thought Oberlin might have a chance to pounce. Thought better of it, though. Winner yesterday, TR3 Racing. It's Daniel Morad behind the wheel. Back in 12th. He's only made up one spot since the drop of the green.
Third in the pro class, followed by another pro runner in Stephen McAleer. They're the championship leaders, the RS1 number 28. And Eric Filgares. Filgares did a really solid job yesterday. Was disappointed, frustrated with the week in terms of not finding the sweet spot with that Porsche, but drove a really solid, savvy race to score good points.
Came so easy for that team. There's Derek DeBoer waving at us, watching Valentin Haseclo right here in his TRG Aston. That's the teammate to Derek. But back to RS1, the first couple of race weekends, it went so smoothly. Brand new car for the team, first time racing at the GT3 level, and able to make progress and put in quick laps right off the bat. But they've been working at it a little harder the last few. They struggled off the truck at COTA, eventually found the pace. Haven't been able to unlock the riddle, though, here at VIR.
Oh, that was a bit late there with the maneuver there by Ryan Dial. I think Oberlin had a bit of a run. We see someone up ahead drop wheels there on the approach to the roller coaster. Oberlin had a big head of steam, and Ryan Dial suddenly took that lane away from him.
Down the hill and roller coaster, now through Hogpen, the final turn on this 3.27 mile circuit in Southern Virginia, just across the border from North Carolina.
Comes Oberlin once again, really picks up pace on the Ferraris. We get to the halfway point in the straightaway, down to the inside. Late out braking maneuver, can he tuck it in? DL comes back at him. Oberlin washes wide there, very late on the brakes. ABS probably kicked in a little bit, took away some of the retardation. Time to regroup and go back after him.
Thought for a moment it might leave him vulnerable to the number 120, Elliott Skier, in that Wright Motorsports Porsche from the Pro-Am ranks, but Skier was not quite able to close in to the degree necessary to put any particular pressure on Oberlin, who now has to settle back in and set off in pursuit of Ryan Dial once more.
It's thundering through the snake, up into the climbing S's. Magnificent ribbon of blacktop up through there, just continues to climb. As we look at our leader now, Robbie Foley, been in control from the very start, but Colin Brown is starting to find some lap time. They're very even on pace right now, separated by just a couple of hundredths of a second. Verhagen is looking pretty pacey as well. His fastest lap, 2/10 quicker than the leader right now.
Each of the top 11 cars turned their fastest lap of the race the last time around, including, of course, the race leader, Robbie Foley. Colin Brown giving chase. Now, Foley is not a full season entrant. That's not someone that Brown needs to worry about for points. Is that in the back of his mind?
I think so. I mean, I think he's a big picture thinker right now, Colin Brown. They're really back in this championship hunt. Had an excellent day yesterday, really cutting the lead that the 120 machine from Wright Motorsports have had this season. They've had 4 wins on the year. The 0-4 CrowdStrike entry now has 3 on the back of yesterday's victory. So they know they're on the chart here. They're closing the gap. And they just have to think about who are they racing here today. You got the overlap between the various classes. Then, as you pointed out, Ryan, Foley's not in the championship full time, so he doesn't have to worry about those points too much, but it's still 7 points that are there. If you all problems here, slowing car.
That was Corey Lewis in the DXDT Racing Mercedes. He was 5th at the time, and he's pulled off the racing line. Seemingly problems for the Burton Lumber Mercedes.
Rear,
yep, it is the left rear.
That's a long way from home, too.
That's one area where Racer's Edge got a little lucky yesterday. When they had their issues, it was in the section just before pit in, and Farnbacher wasn't forced to limp around. Unfortunately, Corey Lewis has had to stop that car, and it's in a precarious spot. Wonder if that might erase some of the advantages we've seen built here in the opening 12 minutes or so.
Gotta wait and see if Corey's able to get that car moving again or find a safe haven around the racetrack. They'll continue to let these drivers race until they get some communication going between the DXDT racing team. And with that, Jeff Burton watches on. Devastating blow to this group because they are having a really solid run there. It was a great start for Corey Lewis to have that car up in the top 5 and now have the issue.
Safety car is deployed. You can see the disgust writ plainly on the face of Jeff Burton. They had a great day going. Lewis had just set his fastest lap on the previous lap at a 45.8, which compares favorably with every car running ahead of him. In fact, every car on track that lap. There is Corey, disgusted. This day started off in such a promising manner, Calvin, but it will not end the way that he had hoped when he woke up.
No, they just can't seem to catch a break. I really feel that they're on the verge of breaking through this group in terms of performance and results, but they just can't seem to catch a break right now. We talked about the sister car with the off in qualifying, having set a top 5 qualifying run. They lost that lap because of the red flag that was created by Smithson's off, and here we see Lewis with a brilliant start. He was up on the wheel early, made up 3 positions on the opening lap, and now he's at the side of the racetrack, so tough break.
Not what a number of these teams wanted to see either. Let's use Turner Motorsport as an example. Their strategy today certainly was to have Robbie Foley go out, build as big of a gap as possible, and then his much less experienced teammate, Vin Barletta, making only his 2nd professional GT3 start here today, could then, in theory, nurse the advantage that Robbie built, but all of that gets wiped away when we go behind the safety car.
I think it's going to be a fascinating second phase to this race when we do get the AMs behind the wheel, because you're going to have Vin Barletta going up against George Kurtz, who has a lot more experience, a lot more momentum coming in. Jan Halen's teammate Charlie Luck, Verhagen turned over to Samantha Tan, and Valentine Haas-Klo. He's got Derek DeBoer, so Derek DeBoer could be really feisty here in the second half of this race, I think.
Now we see the heartbreak here for the DXDT team. Let's hear from Jeff Burton now with Amanda.
And it is the suspected left rear suspension. We're going to try to make it back here, but the car not moving anymore. And Jeff, you have one of the biggest smiles in the paddock, and I know it's just heartbreaking to watch these moments unfold for you guys. How do you stay above it?
Well, we've had our tough luck, there's no doubt this year on some mechanical, but these guys are busting their butts to try to give us the best car they possibly can. And this week we thought we did. We thought we had a pretty decent car, no doubt. And just Corey said he got hit and won, you know, just racing. Everybody's rubbing against everybody, and just, I mean, it just happens. You're in a sport that just stuff happens when you're trying to go fast.
The commentary was very congratulatory on Corey and these opening laps and what he was able to accomplish. What thoughts will you leave with from the weekend?
That we won't quit, that there's more races to come. There's still, you know, more of the year to go, and we haven't been successful so far, so we've got something to prove to ourselves and to the rest of the field. You know, we're here to move up the ladder, so yeah, we'll be there.
Jeff, with Corey on your side, where have you seen your evolution as a driver here this season? It does seem like you're just, I remember talking to you, Ed Nola, and you were like, I know I'm going to hit on one of those podiums here shortly.
And I still believe that. And Corey's fantastic. Corey's got so much experience over the years. And he's really good for me. He's so positive. You know, sometimes I want a guy to, you know, tell me, you know, really where I'm screwing up. And he's so confident in what I can do that it's hard for him to do that. So he's a good teacher, no doubt.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you standing for the interview.
Thanks.
Amanda's right. Certainly one of the biggest and brightest smiles in the paddock. Tough to see Jeff with a bit of a frown, but very philosophical in his outlook.
Yeah, he's very determined. I mean, perseverance is kind of his mantra, and they're going to keep digging. I think the results are going to come for that group. There's too many quality people there with Stefan Pfeiffer, Simon Morley, Brian Sellers aboard the other car, really, you know, steering Scott Smithson in the right direction. They've got quality guys. It's just a matter of time. Sometimes racing is tough. I mean, they've been scratching their heads. Why are these other Mercedes teams quicker than us? And they just keep trying to, you know, fettle that car and make it a little bit better, keep tuning on it and find the secret sauce, the magic to it.
Well, I give a lot of credit to the team owner, David Askew, who has been an owner-driver for a number of years, started this team, at least in part, so that he could go racing himself. Elected, though, to step out of the driver's seat to focus on running his team, and we've seen them take some steps forward, but I think a very selfless choice there by David Askew. Back to the start of the race, the green flag waved by Kim, the president of Rover USA, to get us underway, and it was the pole sitter Robbie Foley who was able to grab the advantage right away, just behind. Colin Brown slotted in second. Good battle, though, in the early stages here from Jan Halen and Mario Farnbacher, but pretty quickly, Mario's has started to slide on back through the field down to the 5th position overall. Was down as far as 6th before Corey Lewis dropped out, and that Racer's Edge team has to be scratching their heads.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think they recognize that they don't have the strongest car here this weekend. They still have the lead in Pro. Let's not forget that. They are still leading their class, but it's got to be managed, and I know that Mario wants to hang on to that lead. Aublin's going to be turned over to Chandler Hull. He's been very quick in the 94 car this weekend as well, coming off that excellent runner-up finish here yesterday. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Ashton Harrison when she jumps on board that machine, but she's done it before. She withstood the pressure at Coda to get that brilliant victory when that gap was being closed by Eric Filgueras. She just kept hitting her marks and doing her thing. So they haven't given up, even though they may be on the back foot a little bit in terms of pace. They have a strong opportunity here today.
There you see the car on the flatbed, broken rear suspension on the left-hand side, as suspected is the culprit, and that ends the day early for Jeff Burton and Corey Lewis. And it brings out this safety car, which is about to come to an end. The safety car period. Lights are off, and the restart is imminent. Here, Calvin, who do you have your eye on the restart?
I think Jan Halen, he looked pretty feisty on that initial start. I mean, he's battling Colin Brown here for second in Pro-Am, so he'd like to get the launch here, but Colin's pretty feisty. He's going to get his elbows out if necessary. I think Foley has the pace. I think he was managing things from the front. But there's a chance for everyone just to get a little reset, think about what they have, maybe tune on the bars a little bit, the anti-sway bars in the race car to get that car in more of a sweet spot. Here he goes.
Here we go. Robbie Foley in the car that has led since the drop of the green, enters the VP acceleration zone and wastes no time. He jumps on the loud pedal, accelerates away down the front straightaway, 3,000 feet in length, under the green flag, and we are racing once again at VIR. Foley gets away, not so much for Brown. He's now locked in a duel with Jan Halen.
Yeah, Foley just took off. They got the hammer down early coming through Hogpen and left everyone in his dust. Halen's really close here. He's trying to set up Colin Brown here as they come into that tricky brake zone for turn 3.
These are two of the cars that featured prominently in the battle for the Pro-Am Championship last year. So they are certainly used to fighting with one another, Brown and Halen, and they've had some epic duels over the last few seasons here in Fanatec GT World Challenge America.
Everyone keeping it nice and tidy. Not too much aggression here on this restart lap. What did Foley do up front? Got the big jump. Curious to see what the pace is here. As you said, he's going to try and extend that gap. Pit stop window opens in about 19 minutes, but you'd expect him to go deep into that. With the pros starting here for race 2, they always want to try and maximize their seat time and deliver the car in the best shape possible. Oh, a little bobble there by Balzan as he comes into Oak Tree. Gets a little bit wide.
It's the Ferrari just out the windscreen, riding on board with Trenton Estep. The car running 14th overall right now. Native of San Antonio, Texas. Putting the pressure on the Ferrari ace, Alessandro Balzan.
165 miles an hour right there as they hit the brakes, slowing it way down 3 gears, and then
plunge down the hill. Huge elevation change here. Just brushing those curves. Beautiful to watch.
Look at the outside of the MDK Porsche. Led, of course, by Mark Kwame, racer in his own right. Passionate about his racing on 4 wheels and on 2. That team actually founded to go motocross racing, expanded into sports cars, and they've had Kevin and Jan Magnussen as co-drivers at various times and in various championships over the last season plus that it's been a sports car racing operation.
Yeah, I think Kevin Magnussen is actually a brand ambassador for the whole group as he continues his Formula One career driving for the Haas Formula One team. They're running up in Montreal here this afternoon.
Team from Montreal in the center of the screen just a second ago. That would be ST Racing, now running a lot of their operation out of California. But for many years, this team was based in Montreal. And right now, the American Neil Verhagen with the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race at 1:45.550. He had the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race yesterday, too.
Yeah, he's really done an excellent job. I mean, John Edwards started the season with Samantha Tan. He's got a lot of personal commitments coming up with his wife expecting their first baby here in a month or so. And I think he was really just forecasting where he would need to be for the rest of the season, and went to BMW, said, I really need to step away from this program, and they put Neil in here for this weekend. It's supposed to be kind of a trial, but I think they'll certainly be happy with his performance so far this weekend.
22 years old from Ridgefield, Connecticut, although he now calls Mooresville, North Carolina home. Won some junior open wheel championships here in the States before going to Europe. Finished 5th in British F3 back in 2019 before making a full-time switch to sports cars under the BMW umbrella in 2020. A lot of laps at the Nürburgring Nordschleife for young Neil Verhagen, but a chance to come race on home soil with ST Racing. Hope to see a lot more of him. Oberlin, in the meantime, continues to stalk that number 33 machine of Ryan Dial. Meanwhile, Valentin House-Clos got a little bit wide. Does that open the door for Dial to go on the offensive?
Yeah, you want to try and open your hands up coming through there, but as you get a little bit deeper into this race, there's not a ton of grip out wide there off the racing line. So you really got to sort of like experiment with the line off of the horseshoe on the exit of turn 1 to see where the grip is still with the race car, with the balance that it has and what the racetrack is giving you.
Leader in pro under the bridge. Then this gaggle of cars. All the way back to the back of the pack where you find Brian Sellers in 16th. Last car running at the moment, but certainly keeping pace with the rest of the field ahead of him. It'll be Scott Smithson to finish in that entry from DXDT Racing.
Well, you think about Sellers running there in 16th. Why is he back there? Well, the reason he is because look who's in front of him. Pampelli, Balzan, Christodoulou. I mean, these are top-notch GT drivers on the global stage, let alone just here in North America. There's no easy pickings out there this afternoon.
Big moments here for Neil Verhagen. Still pretty early in his sports car racing career, certainly at the GT3 level, putting pressure on an established star of the Formula in Jan Halen. And these are the kind of moments that can open some eyes, open some doors for our young racing driver, going up and measuring yourself toe-to-toe with a driver whose quality is a known commodity.
It really is. I mean, if you can make some moves on Jan Halen, he's a fearless competitor. He doesn't come easy in terms of being passed, and he's going to make that Porsche as wide as he possibly can. I think Jan's a little frustrated this year with their progress with this new later iteration of the Porsche. Just feels it's struggling a little bit. And mainly, I think he's talking about straightaway speed, the power that cars has in relationship even to the older version. And they're not been getting the results that they expected, but he continues to dig. Didn't have a great day yesterday, but nonetheless, they still sit in 4th position in the championship, Pro-Am-wise at least.
Halen runs 3rd overall in this race, and that's also 3rd in class for Hagen 4th. And then we drop back behind Farnbacher to this battle. Valentin House-Clos, Ryan Dial, Bill Oberlin, Elliott Skier, Daniel Morad, and all the way down to Sellers in 16th. Everyone close, separated by between 4 and 7/10 it seems like, from that 6th position on back to 16th.
Yeah, Mario Farnbacher has found a nice little space here to work with. Verhagen got around him, of course, but Farnbacher, the Pro Class leader, he's turning some really fast laps, and he's actually gapping Bill Auberlen a little bit, as Auberlen cannot make any progress and get by Ryan Dial, even though he's going to go back on the attack here once again down Madison Avenue.
Farnbacher, it's very rare to see him move backwards. He qualified 3rd, finds himself in 5th, but crucially still the top of the Pro Class runners at this still very early stage of the race. Not even 30 minutes gone in a 90-minute race 2 of Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, and off there for Auberlen. But that's after he's made the pass. Good catch there, Cal. So Auberlen up a spot. Not for class position, but that does move Bill to 7th overall. His next quarry is Valentin Asclo in the TRG Aston.
Let's see if he can clear him quickly and see if he can go chase down Mario Falkenbacher before they get to the pit stop window. Trying to set up VHC here. Look at him take that big, late turn-in point there, trying to just get good exit speed off, but not close enough to make the move into the left hook.
Tell you what, VHC got a decent drive off that corner despite taking a shallow entry, and that was enough to keep the BMW factory driver Bill Auberlen at bay.
Love the thunder right there underneath the bridge. Flat out all the way to turn 10. About 155 miles an hour before they lift off the gas pedal once again, right there.
And a phenomenal soundtrack too. So many different notes from these different engines.
On edge.
Oh yeah.
He is pushing that BMW for everything. He's got Morad. That's a late move. Looks to the inside of Elliott Skier, not close enough.
Wow. There was not much between those two. Skier keeps Morad behind. Again, 2 cars not in the same class. But Morad, the car that won overall yesterday, mired back in 10th, up 3 spots though from the start of the race. Auberlen around VHC, that's for 6th overall, and now nothing between Auberlen and the leader in the Pro Class.
Yeah, this is going to be crucial right now because he's got about 20 minutes or so maximum time to go chase down Mario Farnbacher and give his teammate Chandler Hull an opportunity to be at least closer to Ashton Harrison towards the run to the checkered flag.
Approaching half an hour down, and let's learn more about the RS1 Porsche with Amanda.
As we get closer to these driver changes, I was talking to Eric Filgaris of if they'll try to do anything crafty during the driver change. He said they're going to wait to see what the leaders in that pro category do, but he said that he simply thinks that they might have something for Ashton Harrison and Chandler Hull on the back side of that. You'll go back to that 2nd race at COTA. He simply ran out of real estate to be able to bring into Ashton Harrison, but we know what he is capable of. It is no secret that Porsche has been struggling here this weekend. When I said, what's possible, Eric, he simply said, anything is possible.
Daniel Morad, while Amanda was giving that update, a lunge to the inside, got around Elliott Skier. That's now up 4 positions for the TR3 Mercedes that won overall yesterday, Cal.
Yeah, it's a really solid run here. Well, he really pinched the car off that corner, but the rear stability is still there. That's surprising. I thought he pinched it, was going to start to drift a little bit, but the car is hooked up. He's moving forward. It's a tough crowd to move forward in, but he's gradually picking them off.
And we know Kenton Cook's got some pace in that car. It was on full display in the opening stint yesterday. And again, if you're just joining us, TR3 normally in the Pro-Am ranks. Siad Gondor couldn't be here this weekend, so they draft in Kenton Cook for the weekend. And what do? Go out and win yesterday in their Pro Class debut.
Don't count them out for a victory here. It's not insurmountable because he's only about 2 seconds back of Auberlen as we think about Morad, so anything can happen in the second phase of this race.
Samantha Tan, who stood on the podium here yesterday in race 1, stood on the podium at Paul Ricard in the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup round there just a couple of weeks back. A great run of form. That was in a Ferrari, of course. This weekend here in this BMW, and Neil Verhagen continues to throw haymakers at Jan Halen, who continues to shrug them off.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's a very defined character, and he's going to keep digging deep. I know he's frustrated by the season, as I said earlier, so he wants to give this car to Charlie in the best possible place to try and score a podium here at least. Can Charlie do anything in the second phase of the race against the like of George Kurtz and Vin Barletta?
Well, it is Father's Day after all, so Jan Halen would love to set the table for his father-in-law, Charlie Luck, who will be the second driver into this car. Happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the dads out there. Many of them here trackside with their youngsters in tow. That's always great to see.
Yeah, it's a fun weekend. But right now, we see the gaps at the front. Foley leads Colin Brown by around about a second and a half. And about 2 seconds plus back sits this pair of Jan Halen and Neil Verhaeghe. You see the BMW closing down Madison Avenue. Jan Halen just picks the middle of the road. It's tough to get to the inside. Verhaeghe pushes through. Can he keep it together?
He drifts wide and back through the gap goes Jan Halen. Perry and Riposte. The Belgian back through, picks that spot back up.
Great bit of racing there. Excellent move by Verhaeghe, but he's right on edge there. Just had to keep on the brake pedal a little bit longer, and that allows Jan to get back to the power and shoot back by him.
Beautiful stuff. This is the fight for third overall and in Pro-Am. Verhaeghe, though, back on his giddy-up, charging down the front straightaway, and again arrives at the back door of Jan Halen into the braking zone, this time for the horseshoe.
Fun battle. It's really cool to see the draft effect and the fact that BMW does seem to have a little bit less drag than the Porsche in front. But Jan Halen is not giving up. He is trying to hold on to this for everything he's got in his arsenal. All of the tricks. Positioned the car right in the middle of the road, and that got Neil off on the slightly dirtier side of the racetrack, meant that the retardation with the race car was not as strong. And that meant that he just washed wide enough for Jan Halen to get back around him.
Oberlin now clear of that traffic. He's got his head down.
Fastest
Calvin, he
lap
just did
for
his
him.
personal fastest lap. Yep, took the words right out of my mouth. A 46.637. That is 0.6 of a second faster than the class leader, Mario Farnbacher, who he is chasing.
Still a 4-second gap, though, that Mario has built here over the Pro Class field, so continuing to do his thing. Excellent stint by Mario Farnbacher. Recognized he didn't have the edge and the pace of some of the faster Pro-Am entries, but just settled in, got the lead, and just trying to maintain it.
This is the car on the move. We're closing in on the mandatory pit stop window. That'll be in just under 7 minutes when the window opens. But it is Bill Oberlin we have our eyes fixed on right now. Just turned in his best lap, as we mentioned. The last time by, the gap he needs to erase is 4.1 seconds, and we'll have a chance to judge just how much progress he's making when he comes across the line the next time.
Riding those curves beautifully, just the amount that you want to be hitting them with without unsettling the race car, but just trimming the line through there.
Mario Farnbacher a 46.8, Oberlin a new personal best 46.5. Samantha Tan getting in the zone. She'll be stepping in for Neil Verhaeghe when the pit window opens. But Oberlin closes that gap down just a little more, 5th and 6th overall. But it's the battle for the lead in Pro. Just ahead of that, however, is this fight here, which continues unabated, with Jan Halen still keeping Neil Verhaeghe in check.
Foley continuing to do an excellent job up front, leading the field overall, and leads Colin Brown by 1.3 seconds. That gap has been fluctuating between about 1.6 to 1.2. Both drivers turning in super consistent series of laps here.
Well, you'd have to believe this race will be decided by the AMs in these Pro-Am cars. And Vin Barletta, just his second Pro GT3 start. George Kurtz, well, he was the winner yesterday, ran second overall for much of the race, in his stint at least yesterday. You would think the edge would be in George's favor. Back to this fight. Verhaeghe again drawing a bead on the back of Jan Halen. He's going to try it again.
He's deep. He's going to just try and hold him there, not getting as deep. That was beautiful. Just beautiful. Recognized what he did the time before and just slowed it down a little bit more. Didn't roll as much apex speed. Just kept Jan out there. Didn't give him the opportunity to retaliate on the exit of the corner.
That was for the final step of the podium in the Pro-Am class, and now that he's clear of the traffic, look at Neil Verhaeghe just sprint away. He's 3.9 seconds behind Colin Brown, the second place car in the class. But Cal, let's talk through this pass once again.
Yeah, you can see him there. He gets alongside and then he just slows the car down a little bit more than the last time he attempted this into the approach for the roller coaster. That was just beautifully done, really showing his class here this afternoon.
Samantha Tan waiting for her chance. That's her car. That's her guy. Neil Verhagen puts her now in a podium position. The car trailing right behind, though. We got just a glimpse of it. It's the leader in the pro class, Mario Farnbacher, who could soon be coming under pressure from the hard-charging Bill Oberlin. This gaggle continues to entertain, though. It's VHC, the course cork in the bottle. Daniel Morad is now up to the 9th spot, up 4 positions from the start. That's the gray and orange Mercedes. A little bit behind them is where you'll find this battle between Alessandro Balzan and Trenton Estep.
Yeah, for Morad, being caught there behind the Aston Martin has really cost him about 6 seconds to Oberlin. At one point he was within a couple of seconds, so with Oberlin in clean air and got his head down, and Morad stuck in traffic a little bit. That's really creating a big gap between the 2nd and 3rd place runners in the Pro Division.
Estep must have had a slip-up early in this lap because he's dropped 2 spots. Christodoulou and Balzan are both through. Morad coming under duress. Elliott Skier would love to take that spot back. Morad pried it out of his grasp a few laps ago with the surprise move to the inside in turn 4.
It just looked as he was going forward. Now he's kind of plateaued a little bit with his performance. That's Daniel Morad. Really had his coming out party here back in 2017, driving for CRP aboard a similar Mercedes chassis. Went head-to-head with Jerome Bleekemolen, who at the time was recognized as maybe one of the fastest GT racers on the global stage, let alone here in this championship, and he kept him at bay for a long, long time and grabbed the victory. That made a huge statement and certainly got every team's attention as to Daniel Morad's abilities.
Here they come through NASCAR Bend, so named because in a Trans Am race in 1966, Richard Petty, David Pearson, Wendell Scott of NASCAR fame evidently had some trouble with that corner, and it's borne the moniker NASCAR Bend ever since.
I assume by that they might have had a few offs, possibly, or a contretemps.
I have attempted to find footage and failed. If anyone can dig some up, I'd love to have it. We're just under 2 minutes away from the pit lane opening. Got a couple of replays to take a look at. Keep an eye on the Porsche. This might be how Estep dropped those spots. That's Christodoulou up the inside, and Balzan. Yep, looks like he's going to force his way through too. I'm on board now with Trenton Estep.
Pushed out wide, tires a little bit dirty, on the wrong angle to get back to the power as well. Look to his right, there's Balzan, he fills that gap immediately.
That explains why Trenton Estep now runs 14th when just over a lap ago he was 12th.
All right, back on the attack. He's gained a car length or 2 on Elliott Skier. That allows him to really focus forward once again. Such a dynamic when you got the different classes running nose to tail, trying to make a move, and you get the attention from behind you. It's like a little bee that won't go away, kind of buzzing in your ear. Christodoulou trying to get Stephen Mackler's attention. You can see there the 4th car in line flashing his headlights.
Oh, here he comes. Morad gets to the side. If he can hang around the outside, the position will be his. And indeed, Daniel Morad picks off another. So from 13th on the grid, now to 8th overall. And crucially, that means he is just that much closer to the top 2 in the pro class. Farnbacher and Oberlin setting the table nicely for when Kenton Cook climbs aboard.
That was beautifully judged there. When you're in that little squiggle there coming up to the turn 3 brake zone, it's all about feel, and that's where someone like a Daniel Morad, someone who's at the top of their game, knows exactly where that other car is. You're not seeing them in your rear view facing camera or your side view mirror. You just kind of feel you have that kind of pulse of the race, and he did an excellent job there of just clearing the Aston Martin. Nothing that VHC could do about it.
Glad we're checking in here on the overall leader, because we should update you that the gap has come down to under a second for the first time since the very start of the race. Foley had a lead of over a second after the first racing lap, and Colin Brown slowly but steadily has chipped away. And again, talk about setting the table for the co-driver. I think George Kurtz should be in a really strong position to go and race for a Pro-Am win.
Pit window should be open right now, so they're going to have about 9 more minutes to work with the pros who started this race to stay out there and just really work every
advantage that they can gain to turn it over to their teammate.
Keep an eye on that car, the 28. We're hearing they're setting up for the pit stop, and indeed, RS1 makes the quick pit call. MDK will follow them in. So a couple of cars from the pro class electing to get out of that train, get out of the conga line, and make their way into the pit lane for the mandatory stop.
Doing the undercut here, so some fresh Pirelli P0s going on for Eric Filgueras. This will be hammer time for him. What will his outlaps be compared to the drivers who stay out on kind of well-worn rubber right now? But there's not been a lot of fall-off here this weekend. The tire deck has been minimal. These Pirellis are doing a super job here on this very demanding circuit here at VIR.
To my eye, it looks like this is a scuffed set of Pirellis going on for the second stint here. McAleer's going to have to make them wait. Down off the jacks, you see the car waiting. Now they release, that's good. 65 seconds. Pit in to pit out, including the service. That is the time you must spend at minimum on the pit lane. If you run afoul of that, a penalty will come your way. Those are the only two cars that have elected to come to the pit lane. I believe there was a holdup on the MDK pit stop from what we gathered down in the pit lane. Yeah, look, he was right there behind the RS1 team when he came into the pits, and just now leaving the pit lane.
That's a disaster for that team who are trying to build on another podium run here yesterday. They're 5th of the season, and we're looking in really great shape championship-wise, knocking on the door of P2 in the pro ranks. So have to wait and see how this one develops.
Into the pit lane now comes the TR3 Mercedes. They'll go with the undercut as well. Morad pits, Kenton Cook won't have to worry about finding his pit stall today. He just has the task of finishing.
Don't count these guys out. They're still in the mix for a win. Kenton Cook is going to be rapid in the second half of this race as he goes up against the likes of Ashton Harrison and Chandler Hull and company.
Very smooth. No panic. Keep in mind for Kenton Cook, this is going to be a little bit different. Each team has its own procedure for how the driver change goes. It's his first weekend working with TR3, but that looked like it went flawlessly. Tire change still underway, refuel as well.
Foley's been impeccable up front. Awesome qualifying lap here. He said the car was absolutely mega, laid one down. No one else was really close to him. And he just took off on the initial start and just really laid down the perfect race here. Lost a little bit of that lead, obviously, and compressed the field with the yellow, but nonetheless, as Kenton Cook is now released, they're going to be knocking on the door, certainly of a podium, maybe more. Can they sweep the weekend?
He makes it out ahead of the RS1 car, so that at least is one position in hand in the pro class battle, and we'll just have to wait and see how everything else shakes out. Quick update on the MDK pit stop. Evidently, it was something like 7 seconds long. Not sure why, but that certainly will be costly for Trenton Estep and Seth Lucas. They'll need a safety car intervention, you would think, to get back into the mix. Asiclo continues to struggle with the recalcitrant race car count. It doesn't look like that Aston does quite what he's asking it to do as easily as he would like, and he's dropped a few spots. Balzan peels out of this battle and heads to pit lane.
A couple more laps potentially for these drivers who have stayed out on track, as Balzan's going to turn it over to Manny Franco. And it just showcases he's a multiple GT champion at this level, and you see him still fighting out in the second half of this field, Alessandro Balzan. So that showcases how tough the competition here is in the Fanatec GT Championship, as we saw the Mercedes making a late move there into turn 4.
Yeah, VHC drifted wide. Chris Dudulu went to the inside. We'll have to check and see if he was able to complete the move. There is Balzan out of the car. Yep, it is Chris Dudulu through. And how about that? Spencer Pompelli able to pounce as well. So VHC drops a couple of spots there in one fell swoop.
Wow, that could be critical in terms of their result here as they drop down the order a little bit. Gives Derek DeVore a little bit more work to do.
No question about that.
Podium might be tough, but going to be an awesome second half of this race as we see you get to see the second stint drivers do their work as well.
This is how it happened Valentin Haseclo, you're going to see him slip wide here. That's going to open the door, and right there, Chris Tadulu needs no second invitation. That was almost too easy, and Pumpelly right there to capitalize himself.
Yeah, I think VHC is definitely on the back foot right now with the balance of that race car and the grip that he's got available to him. So maybe he's suffering a little bit of tire degradation at the late phase of this race.
Given the fact that Derek DeBoer's pace has been pretty good this year, a little surprised that they're going to run VHC this long with a car that's not to his liking.
Yeah, he may pilot in this time as Oberlin is now in pit lane, going to turn it over to Chandler Hull.
Great stint from Bill Oberlin. Took him a little while to get clear of the traffic, but he did pick his way through.
And we see VHC in pit lane as well, just in the backdrop there.
Here comes Chandler Hull, already raced
Look
today.
how quick Oberlin gets out.
Yeah.
He looks for every little edge. And driver change can make the difference as well.
100%. No second wasted. Derek DeBoer set to climb aboard the 007. Oberlin completes the driver change and calmly walks back towards the pit wall.
That was a solid run. Wasn't a great qualifying run yesterday, excuse me, Ryan, but certainly great opening stint there by Bill.
They'll hang up there with the right rear. Don't think it cost him much. They sit, they wait, car refired, and he's down and away. Kenton Cook already starting to push for lap time. He needs to make this strategy work. There is Oberlin out here. Sorry, that would be Hull. Here comes Cook with a head of steam built up. Just ran a 46.1. Really quick lap time there from Kenton Cook. The gap to Hull, well, it was 9 seconds, but I don't think it still is because that was with Hull triggering the gap on the pit lane. So we'll have to check that the next time through. Overall leader is in. Robbie Foley from the pole has dominated this race. Vin Barletta will take it home.
Great stint by Robbie here. Now his big supporter, Vin Barletta, gets his opportunity. Done a solid job here this week. He does have GT3 experience with an M6 in vintage competition, but this is a whole different level as we see Justin Wetherell now taking over from the Scotsman Ryan Dial.
So just his second pro-level GT3 start, and he's about to come out in the lead of the race, or at least pretty close to it. So how about that? Out of the frying pan and into the fire, right?
It's going to be big pressure. You're also going to have the overcut done with Colin Brown keeping that car out there. The 04 has stayed on track. Colin Brown on hot tires versus a Vin Barletta outlap. Going to be curious to see the overlap when Kurtz gets behind the wheel of the 04, whether that's enough to get the lead without having to overtake this number 096 Turner Motorsport BMW N4.
To my eye, at least, Cal, it looked like the Turner team was trying to beckon Vin out, and maybe the car wasn't quite ready to go. That could cost a little bit of time there in the pit lane.
Would not surprise me at all to see the 04 car after this next lap when they make their pit stop come out in front of that Turner Motorsport car. Brown was not far behind Robbie Foley when he hit pit lane.
Barletta does come out ahead of Hull. This is the presumptive second place car in pro. Mario Farnbacher continues to lead in pro and had a bit of a gap, so it's going to depend on outlaps and in-laps and pit work, of course, but I think Farnbacher and Harrison should hang on in the pro class if things go according to plan for them. But this is going to be the fight to watch here in the pit lane. Riley Motorsports, the CrowdStrike racing car, Colin Brown pitting from the lead. If they can execute here, if Colin's in-lap was good enough and George can get out of there pretty cleanly, well, it could be a chance for him to grab the lead, and we're hearing that the Turner stop was multiple seconds slow, so that should then put the CrowdStrike by Riley team in a position to take the lead.
Yeah, it may not be even close. We thought it was going to be close, but now understanding that Turner pit stop was a little bit slow, just getting Vin Barletta released there, so it's all about these teams now. Got Samantha Tan going aboard the ST Racing machine. You got Charlie Luck stationed right behind aboard the Wright Motorsports going in, and you got George Kurtz getting on board the CrowdStrike Racing entry. I anticipate with equal pit stops here between these three runners. There goes Kurtz. He's released. He's going to grab the lead in class at least.
It was a great stop from ST Racing. It is Kurtz emerging in the lead. Samantha Tan comes out in second. It looks like Charlie Luck will come out in third. Where is the Turner car? Here comes Farnbacher. Finally, Vin Barletta comes around, but he's dropped from the lead down to fourth.
Yeah, that pit stop cost them big time. So Vin Barletta now settles in. He's got around Ashton Harrison as she exits pit lane, but has dropped a couple of spots. Crucially, Kurtz now leads from Samantha Tan, Charlie Luck, then Vin Barletta, then we've got Ashton Harrison. So you can find their rhythm the quickest.
There's your race leader, George Kurtz. What a streak he is on at the moment. A win at Le Mans in class last weekend, a win yesterday here in Fanatec GT. Could it be another win, maybe even an overall win? It would be their third of the season.
Certainly looking good. Team has executed here this weekend. It's been a bit of a strange weekend for George. He struggled with the balance in his GT America cars. We see side-by-side action here into turn 4.
Yeah, that's the MDK car trying to recover. It's Seth Lucas driving, looking to make his way through the AMs in these Pro-Am lineups. It's Eric DeBoer in front of him, and it's all arms and elbows for young Seth Lucas.
Watch this action. Having to feather the throttle a little bit, losing maybe a little bit of the downforce, the aero wash that you get from the car in front of you, taking away that clean air to the dive planes on the front end.
DeBoer going hunting himself.
Smithson right in front of him, so DXDT had a really solid pit stop. Ryan Sellers did an excellent job in that opening stint.
Seth Lucas, dust kicked up just up the road. Battle is on here. This is for fourth overall, 2 different classes though. Ashton Harrison trying to get by Vin Barletta, really doesn't want to be waylaid because Chandler Hall is starting to close in. This is going to be costly for Racer's Edge if they want to hold on for the win here in the final 37 minutes.
Yeah, she's got to keep pushing. She can't afford to waste any time here, otherwise Chandler Hull is going to come chasing after her for that pro win potentially.
Not too far behind is Kenton Cook, who is only 1.3 seconds in arrears of Hull in the battle for 6th overall and 2nd in the pro class. There goes Ashton Harrison, and now we wait. There you find that fight I was describing. 2nd place, Chandler Hull in the BMW. Kenton Cook in the TR3 Mercedes now up to 3rd.
Yeah, I expect a compression with the top 3 here once everything shakes out here a little bit. Really crucial timer here in this race. Pivotal time potentially for the win here for Ashton Harrison. She has to somehow clear Vin Barletta before the other 2 chasers in the pro class, Chandler Hull and Kenton Cook, make that ground up.
You'd have to think that big BMW would punch a massive hole in the air, but on the other hand, we know it's awfully stout in these drag strip-like straightaways here at VIR, and Harrison makes no inroads whatsoever that time down Madison Avenue.
Barletta doing a nice job as he's starting to find his rhythm. A lot of pressure on him knowing that his car was leading. They didn't have a great pit stop, and now he's just trying to manage things. Just try and keep it together, hit his marks. Don't be distracted by the pressure from behind. But for Ashton Harrison, she's got to be getting frustrated here.
Absolutely. I mean, Barletta was running, his last lap was quicker than the top 3. Not sure this one is going to be, but he's had some decent pace. However, now he's locked in this fight. The question is, how hard do you fight an out-of-class car?
Ashton Harrison just lost 2.5 seconds of that pro lead to Chandler Hull on that one lap as she now clears Vin Barletta. Got to get her head down now. She'll be talked to on the radio by John Moraki from Racer's Edge and her teammate Mario Farnbacher. Very similar scenario to what she was in at Coda when she had Eric Filgueras giving chase, managing the gap.
Speaking of Eric Filgueras, he's 9th overall, 4th in pro, and turning some good lap times, starting to reel in Justin Wetherell. Make that to Adam Adelson for 9th, make that 8th overall.
Last lap, Samantha Tam 1 second quicker than George Kurtz, closing in on our overall and Pro-Am leader right now. There you see her doing an excellent job. George has got to get his head down here.
Oh my goodness, what a great lap that was from Samantha Tan. You're right, 1.6 seconds, and it might be less than that now with ST Racing. And Samantha Tan getting closer. We do understand there could be some post-race time penalties coming for the ST Racing team, as well as for this team, the 45 Right Motorsports team, for pit stop time infringements. That's still being worked out. Now, the big question is, if it's a post-race penalty, it's just a matter of seconds, right? And indeed, the Car 28 penalty is going to be a 1.14 second penalty that will be added to their time.
Well, that means they were just a couple of 3/10 underneath the minimum stop time, which is 65 seconds here this weekend. So I think it's a multiplier of 5 on terms of however much short you are. But if you go beyond a second, there's a different penalty. I think it's a drive-through. So we see the other cars that are under observance here for their pit stop time. Let's wait and see if it is a short pit stop or whether there was some other infraction.
Okay, so it was the 28 who gets a 1.14 second penalty. That is Phil Garris down in 9th. The 38 gets basically a half a second penalty. That is Samantha Tan. And the 45, which is Charlie Luck, gets less than half a second added. So fine are the margins.
Wow.
These are basically microscopic penalties. Shouldn't matter too much, barring a photo finish, at least in the second 2 instances.
That's right. I mean, George Kurtz will certainly have that information relayed to him, but essentially he needs to keep the track position. He doesn't want to be thinking about being on someone's tail and letting that penalty come into play in the post-race results.
My, oh my. 32 minutes to go. Kurtz, the lead is just 0.8 of a second over Samantha Tan. Then dropping back, we find Charlie Luck running here in the 3rd spot. Ashton Harrison turned in a 48 flat that time by matching race pace. Here is Neil Verhagen's car. Samantha Tan driving it right now. Neil set the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race during his stint. He's out of the car now and has found Amanda Busick.
Well, I know that is going to be good news for them to hear. Neil, you did have the CrowdStrike fastest lap in your stint. And with Samantha Tan, I know you said with that penalty, you're not worried about it. She is racing strong out there. But we were talking about just how difficult it is to pass here at VIR. For those watching, where are those opportunities?
Yeah, so you'll have an opportunity into turn 1, obviously, after the back straight. Other than that, it gets really tricky. I mean, I got one done on the Acura in between, I think it's 14A and 16. I think I'm not too sure with the corner names here with the A's and everything, but just in the back of the section there, which I think is a bit of an unusual place to pass. I got him set up and I got under him, but it's tricky out here. The track looks a lot wider, but it's very dirty offline. So, you know, to really get your car positioned with the grip like maximum on the racing line, it's difficult to initiate the overtake. So I tried a couple of times. I was pushing really hard. I went deep one time, but yeah, was happy to get a couple of them done.
She's currently about a half second back from George Kurtz, but you also mentioned that it is extremely hot out there. And while the BMW, you do have the air conditioning, you're saying the exhaust from the car in front of you comes into the car. What might Samantha be experiencing right now?
Yeah, for sure, it's hot. I mean, that's why we all go training. I mean, you can see me, I'm sweaty right now, but yeah, no, I mean, Samantha will be pushing flat out right now. I think having the Porsche in front of you with the exhaust in the back makes it a bit more difficult with the fresh air intake there. It shoots the exhaust fumes straight into that, so it gets a bit hotter there. But the Mercedes has it on the side, so maybe a bit nicer there. So she might be able to be a bit better.
Thank you, Neil, and congrats on the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race.
Interesting battle unfolding. We saw during that interview, Chandler Hull was able to pass Vin Barletta for 5th overall. Kenton Cook, though, has been stymied. In the meantime, we go back to the very front because Samantha Tan has tracked down George Kurtz and now will try to make the pass for the lead. Kurtz goes defensive to the inside into Horseshoe. Samantha Tan lets it ride in wide, now crosses over to the inside, right there in the tire tracks. Samantha Tan on the attack.
She's got a lot of pace. She's been trimming that lead by about half a second a lap. Now she's got the pressure on George, and this is going to compromise his lap time a little bit further. It may allow Charlie Luck to get back up with them, but right now they have a healthy 6-second lead over the 3rd place runner, and now we're seeing that Kenton Cook has got around Vin Barletta. He's going to go try and chase down Chandler Hull and Ashton Harrison here for that Pro Class win as well, as Hull is only a couple of seconds back, actually 3.5 seconds back at Ashton Harrison, so that is closing down at the same time.
Yeah, but before Kenton and Chandler caught Vin, they were nose to tail, so this has really broke the way of Chandler Hull in that fight for 2nd and 3rd in the Pro Class. That's now 5th and 6th in the overall running order. Under 30 minutes to go. We're hearing a penalty is coming for the 94 from Bimmerworld. Drive-through penalty, pit lane speed violation for the second-placed car in the Pro class.
That is devastating. They can see the lead of this race, and now he's going to have to come down pit lane. That's going to cost him 20 seconds plus compared to other cars staying out on the racetrack and just drop them, plummet them down the order.
That news is like manna from heaven for the Racers Edge team. It buys them some time, certainly, in that Pro Class battle. Got another car there in the pit lane. That's the ACI Motorsports Porsche. Pedro Torres in the car, started by Spencer Pompelli. Harrison doing everything she can to keep that Acura out in front after a difficult opening stint for Mario Farnbacher. She runs in the 4th position overall, but leads in the Pro class, and with a penalty due to the second car in her class.
Kenton Cook has got to get the hammer down. He's going to be promoted to P2 in the Pro division, and he now sits about 6 seconds back of Ashton Harrison, so he's got to go to work right now as you see Chandler Hull come down pit lane.
Cook, that last lap was a full second quicker, though, than Ashton. Plenty of time for him to get there at that rate. Drive-through penalty served for the number 94, Chandler Hull.
Not sure if that was Bill Oberlin coming into the pits or Chandler Hull leaving, but either way, the car gets the penalty and has put them very much on the back foot and really takes away their chance of victory here today to follow up on a great runner-up finish yesterday.
George Kurtz has regrouped. Samantha Tan was close enough to threaten into Horseshoe a couple laps ago. Right now, George getting instructions from Colin Brown, who started that car, over the radio. We look at him there. George put in a good lap the last time by, was 0.3 of a second quicker than Samantha, but she's reeling him back in, Cal.
Yeah, BMW definitely has a little bit of an edge down the straightaways here, but I think the one thing for Samantha, she was cutting some really fast laps, then she caught George, didn't make a move immediately, and you can sometimes get into the same cadence of the car in front of you. Sometimes you need to get up to them and just pounce and maintain the rolling speed. You can suddenly get into the same rolling speed through minimum speed through some of the corners, and you don't have that pace any longer, so you just can't manage that. I'm sure Nick Johnson will be on the radio to her, a coach and mentor as well, to try and talk her through this scenario.
For Samantha, a native of Gormley, Ontario, Canada, this race weekend last year was not a good one. They had a big crash in race 1, missed race 2, in fact missed the bulk of the rest of the season, only showed back up for the Indy 8-hour at the tail end of the year. That crash damage with a new car. This BMW was brand new a season ago. There weren't many spares to be found. They refocused their efforts elsewhere, including in GT World Challenge Europe. But back for a full season effort here this year and looking for what would be a huge win for her and her career. Not just a class win, but as they run right now, there's a very good chance it would be an overall win too.
Yeah, for her to go out and grab this victory, grab the lead away from George Kurtz would be monumental. Just give her a tremendous boost in confidence, but George is a savvy competitor. He's been here many times before. He's going to try and manage this race to the finish, but still 25 minutes plus to go.
She has won in endurance racing before, won her class in the 24 Hours of Dubai back in 2021, a 6-hour race in Abu Dhabi. She found victory lane there too, but in a sprint-style race like this, just 90 minutes. Oh, we had a car off. That's Barletta.
It's that tricky turn 11, just got in there a little bit deep and didn't get into the tires, fortunately, just ran a little bit wide. Just going to talk about how impressive his lap times were. He's only a second and a half off our leader, George Kurtz, there on that previous loop around this circuit, but drops a wheel there. It's all a big learning curve for Vin. He's thrown into the deep end here this weekend.
Cost him 2 spots, only one though in position. Cal, you talked about this in our track preview, didn't we?
It's a tricky one. It leads you in there. You're continuing to brake all the way through the corner. If you rush it, and as you get deeper into the race, a lot of marbles on the outside, you just don't have the grip. You're trying to point the car back towards Oak Tree Corner, towards the apex, and you're just on the wrong trajectory there coming through that corner.
Good recovery, though. It could have been a heck of a lot worse. Car behind is not a class car for Vin. It's Manny Franco who continues to rally. Conquest Racing car. A little bit further down the order than he'd like, but just off the podium in Pro. Battle at the very front. Kurtz has answered the challenge from Tan. He's been the quicker of the two each of the past few laps. Has rebuilt that margin back to 0.4 of a second, but it won't take much of a bobble. And Samantha Tan will be right back on the doorstep.
Yeah, it's going to give him a little bit of confidence to see this last handful of laps that he's been able to manage that gap and that she's no longer just closing it and putting pressure on. So that will change the whole dynamic here and kind of the mindset between these two drivers.
Leader in Pro, Ashton Harrison, but for how much longer? Kenton Cook continues to close the gap. Ashton's last lap was a 48.3. Kenton ran a 46.5.
Yeah, that's a different world there. So Ashton's got to respond here, try and dig deep, find some pace here. Otherwise, that lead is going to be tenuous at best.
But one thing to keep in mind, Harrison has to be thinking championship. Kenton Cook does not. This is not his full season gig. This is not a full season pro class entry. So they don't even have to worry about team points here, really.
But it's still 7 points that you're losing. You know, they need to really try and eat into that lead that the 28 squad has, and Filgueras has done a nice job here today. They're looking at a podium run, currently 7th overall and 3rd in Pro-Am, and they are the championship leaders coming into this race by 23 points. So if she can hold off the win, that would be a 10-point swing. If she loses the lead of this race to Kenton Cook, it would only be a 3-point swing. So that's a big, big difference.
How impressive has Kenton Cook been? Oh, well, as I say that, sorry, Kenton, didn't mean to.
He's a pretty cool character. He didn't fight that one. He just let the car have its head. He didn't try and pull it off the edge of the road. That's the real key there, is having the experience. Know when you run a little bit right, just run parallel to the curb, not trying to pull it back on and unsettle the race car by doing so. George there just being super, super easy there through that run into Oak Tree, and that's given Samantha Tan a little bit of a run there. It's kind of tricky. If you get too conservative, you have no weight on the nose to get it turned in for Oak Tree, so you need to kind of come into the corner with a little bit of speed with the weight still on the nose with the brakes to get the car turned in, and he's lost a little chunk of time here, and that's made Samantha Tan get within the draft range here again and have a look. Very demanding circuit, excuse me, Ryan, very demanding circuit in terms of finding that rhythm. Not being too much on edge, not taking too much risk, but also pushing hard enough to keep the car working.
And could be a preview of a battle we may see on track at the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa in a couple of weeks. Both of these drivers and these teams in some form or fashion will be there. Both have run there before.
So we see a similar gap here now developing in the pro class ranks. There's 4/10 for the battle in the lead overall and for Pro-Am, and 4/10 between the two pro cars here of Ashton Harrison and Kenton Cook.
It was 4/10 at the line. It's not 4/10 anymore. Mario Farnbacher and the Racer's Edge Brain Trust, they watch on, but it's going to be a very difficult final 21 minutes. If Ashton's going to hang on, and this might be over sooner than that. Cook goes up the inside. Harrison's got a wild ride on her hands. Makes a great save, but she does lose the lead in Pro.
Yeah, Kenton gets the lead there with that little slide. I thought it was a little bit risky, actually. I mean, why push? I mean, he's got such a speed advantage. I mean, he just needs a little reset there. He's right on her tail, and that was a little bit of a risky move, but he gets away with it with Ashton's slide there and opening up the door.
What a drive from the TR3 Racing team, from 13th on the grid to the lead in the pro class, 4th overall, and this is how we got it done.
This is turn 3, gets the run. Ashton slips a little bit. He stuffs it down the inside, and if she closes the door, there's going to be some contact. She gives him room, then she's off line a little bit and has a little slip as she tries to turn into turn 5.
Now we have to look back. How close is Eric Filgueras, the next car in Pro? We're looking at 10 seconds or so. That would be a big gap to overcome. Filgueras, it's not like he's been turning 47s or 46s. He's been there in the 48s, which is about where Ashton's been.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has enough pace. He's got enough time if he's got any sort of edge, but the pace looks pretty equal to what Ashton's been turning, so probably about 10, 11 laps left in this race.
George Kurtz, not sure he expected to be fighting a rear guard action when he took over this car and took over the lead, but that's the position he finds himself in, coming under pressure, under duress. Samantha Tan pressing the advantage. She's been the quicker car each of the last 2 laps now.
Yeah, I think she just needs to get her head down, try and get that pace that she had earlier. I mean, maybe the edge has gone away from that race car a little bit, but she was on the charge big time during the first 10 laps or so of her stint. Now it's kind of plateaued a little bit. So you'd be running an equal sort of pace. She still has the advantage down the straightaway, so if she can force George into a little mistake here and get a run down one of these straightaways, the BMW certainly has the pace to be able to make a move.
That makes this corner crucial, right? The jump out of Oak Tree down that Madison Avenue, 4,000 feet in length.
Yeah, that was better there by George. He's just rolled a bit more speed through there, so he's kind of accelerating off that corner with a bit more minimum speed through apex.
Down the backstretch towards the roller coaster, George Kurtz leads by 0.4 of a second.
165 minimum speed there as you turn in is about 60 miles an hour. Then it just starts to build you flat out to that point. Then you're just sort of like modulating the throttle there, keeping the car turned in the right direction, keeping the weight on the nose if you need a bit more turn.
This is one of the best battles on the track, certainly as far as battles for position in class are concerned. Looks like Scott Smithson and Anthony Bartone have a nice duel going back in 12th and 13th overall. But this is at the very front of the field. George Kurtz, the overall leader, by half a second at the stripe over Samantha Tan, having one of her most impressive performances in her GT3 career.
The gaps here, I'm thinking about Kenton Cook in terms of overall. He runs 4th overall, leading pro now, having made that move in Ashton Harrison a lap or so ago. He sits 16 seconds back of the lead, and he's cutting lap times typically about a second or so quicker, so he might catch Charlie Luck here before the end of this race, but I'm not sure he's going to have anything for Kurtz and Tan, who run 1-2 right now.
Weekend this is shaping up to be for George Kurtz. Colin Brown got the win in class yesterday. That is their 3rd win of the season. This would be their 4th, and it would be their 3rd overall win as a Pro-Am entry, and probably is worth reiterating here in GT World Challenge America. The Pro class is required to carry 1 silver-graded driver, so it's a little bit different than pro classes elsewhere, but still speaks to the pace that George and Colin have had all season long in this CrowdStrike by Riley car.
Well, they want the win, certainly. That'll be their 4th on the year, but they also need that points gap. Right now, they're coming into this race, as I understand it, my calculations, at least 17 points back. And if they were to win, with Adelson, who currently runs 4th in class, that would be a 13-point swing. So they go into the next round of the championship, only separated by 3 points to the leaders.
It's been a very quiet day for Adam Adelson and Elliott Skier, but they are 6th overall, 4th in class, like you mentioned. After yesterday, when Adam had 2 races cut short by mechanical issues, speaking, of course, of GT America as well as here at Fanatec GT, at least managing to salvage something out of what has been a trying weekend.
I think for George Kurtz, I mean, he really likes to get that extra seat time by running GT America, but unfortunately for him, he had a very different balance and speed in the 2 race cars. He said, I really struggled in qualifying with the GT America race, had a podium run yesterday, had a top 5 this morning, but not the same pace that he's been able to display here. So it's amazing that you have 2 cars run by the same operation, should basically be identical, but just the nuance of setup, just something's a little bit off with his other machine, but this one's given him the pace to maintain the lead here over Samantha Tan.
It's like we heard yesterday, Amanda had a report from Alessandro Balzan talking about the fact that Conquest Racing is using a new chassis this weekend, and Alessandro said that he liked this one better, and you'd think, well, they're both Ferraris off the assembly line, they're both GT3 homologated 296 GT3s, what would be the difference? But there is that little nuance, one car to the next.
Yeah, there really is. It's strange and it's frustrating at times, but other times it can be rewarding. It's like, wow, I've suddenly got a new lease on life. We just changed the chassis and it's come to life for me. I can really drive this one a lot harder with a lot more confidence as we go on board here with Trent Escott once again.
Seth Lucas driving now. Trenton got the start. Running right behind Scott Smithson. A tough day for this team. Had a long pit stop that really took them out of contention to fight within the pro class. But these are two young drivers, Seth in particular, who just needs some seat time, some experience in a GT3 race car. Every lap, part of accelerating and learning process for Seth Lucas.
Pro class car, 2 Pro-Am entries up ahead of him, 2 Mercedes. Scott Smithson doing a really nice job here. Anthony Bartone in the real-time racing with Bartone Brothers entry just ahead of him.
th, 13th, and 14th coming through the shot into Horseshoe, turns 1 and 2. There is Seth Lucas. Riding on board, you could see he's a busy guy in that cockpit. That's something we talked about some yesterday in race 1. It takes a lot of effort, it seems like, to keep that car going the direction that Seth and Trenton wanted to go. This has not been an easy weekend for them or for anyone for that matter.
Oh, they're continuing to learn, build their notebook on this race car as they go to the new racetracks for them. And they're a group, it's a building year as I see it. I mean, got a lot of potential with the engineering squad there as well. KCMG are helping out them. They have some of their personnel who, excuse me, I'm getting mixed up with the ACI team. But still, it's a relatively new team and they're making some waves here. 5 podiums is nothing to be sniffed at with the level of competition here in this championship.
Lead is stabilized at about a half a second. Kurtz and Tan continue their duel. This is happening 11 seconds ahead of third place, Charlie Luck.
Kenton Cook is on the march. He sits only 2 seconds back of Charlie Luck. It's not for class position, but in terms of the overall win, I don't think he's going to be far away from this pair of drivers by the end of this race. 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, Kenton's the only one on track right now running in the 46s. Just ran a 46.8. Leader ran a 48.1. Samantha ran a 47.9. Luck ran a 48.9. So Kenton has 2 seconds in hand compared to Luck and about a second over the top 2.
There you see him there in the TR3 orange and gray colored entry. Head of steam up through the climbing S's. Charlie Luck will know that he doesn't need to fight him. I think Luck and Halo will be pretty content with the podium run here today. Been a nice clean race for both of their drivers. Stayed out of the war, stayed out of any drama.
When you consider they had a 9th place finish yesterday, this is a nice bounce back indeed for the Wright Motorsports team.
Kenton Cook, what an opportunity, and he's grabbed it with both hands. He's had an amazing weekend, had a win and a runner-up finish in Pirelli GT4 America as well. Being a busy boy jumping between the 2 cars, it's really hard to manage as well in terms of the debriefs that you're doing with each different operation, jumping in a different race car, adapting immediately, different procedures, everything. So it's been a huge weekend, but he stepped up.
And don't forget, he also shakes down the CRP Racing Mercedes for GT America, powered by AWS. So I think there's a good chance he has driven 4 different cars here at VIR at one point or another this weekend.
See what we can do here with Charlie, see if he can clear him quickly. If Charlie just opens up the door and lets him go, I would think that John Wright and company will be on the horn to Charlie, just saying this is not a fight, don't get involved, just let him go.
And they will need to tell him because he's used to this car being in the Pro-Am class. It typically is with Ziad Gondor usually in this position, finishing race 2 after Daniel Morad gets the start. Ziad on vacation, couldn't be here, but helped to facilitate this chance to run in the Pro class with Daniel and Kenton Cook. And TR3 about to get rewarded. least if things hold for the next 9 minutes and 42 seconds with a pair of pro-class wins.
That's exactly what Gregory Romanelli and that whole group wanted to do. They didn't do the test days here, so they were on the back foot initially here on Friday, and now Charlie just opens up the door nicely. Well judged, well managed. Kenton's on his way. But they want to showcase that they can win at the highest level here in this championship, and 2 pro-class wins is certainly ticking that box.
No doubt about it. In the team's first year running Mercedes-AMG GT3s. Many, many years in the Ferrari fold, ran Lamborghinis last year, last couple years. And it's taken me about this long in the season to wrap my head around the fact that this very Italian team is running the German car.
Yeah. But again, it just showcases, doesn't matter what they've got to work with, they can tune on it and get a quick car out on the racetrack.
This is back again, 12th, 13th, 14th overall. Battle is for position in Pro-Am, Bartone and Smithson.
Talk about this real-time racing with Bartone brothers, who ran in the AM category with Anthony Bartone and
Andy Pilgrim
running together, and they made the switch with Adam Christodoulou jumping on board here. And I think that's really going to help them. I think Adam's on board for the rest of the season, just to steer them in the right direction, help their engineering department as well, understand this car a little bit better. And they've had good pace here this weekend. I think they'll be happy with the progress, and they'll only get stronger as this season progresses.
Talked some with team owner Peter Cunningham last night, and yeah, they've been impressed with what Adam Christodoulou brings to the table, and we've all been impressed in what Anthony Bartone has done this year. There have been a few little blotches on the copybook, if you will, but that's to be expected in his first season of GT3 racing, and they've been relatively minor. At the end of the day, the thing that has the team most excited is the fact that there is some natural talent being unlocked in Anthony Bartone, and the sky is the limit.
I think for his dad, he loves the discipline that Andy Pilgrim has taught Anthony Bartone in terms of just as much a racing coach as a lifestyle coach in terms of preparing for the race weekends, working on every aspect of his game.
Interesting scrap here. 2 cars from different classes. Adam Adelson runs 6th overall, runs 4th in Pro-Am. Eric Filgaris 7th overall, 3rd in Pro.
Garrison, Ashton Harrison, who run 2nd and 3rd respectively in class. Not much to choose between them. They seem to be nip and tuck for laps here in terms of who's quicker than the other, but in the similar range. So certainly Phil Garris is not closing the gap like he was on Ashton at the end of the Coda race, which he grabbed that victory along with their teammate. This today is obviously for P2 with Kenton Cook leading the class.
Just haven't found their happy place, have they, with this race car at this racetrack for whatever reason. But that's all done and dusted here in 6 minutes and change, and the focus becomes a trip up to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin in Road America, where the balance between the makes can be totally different.
Samantha Tan keeping George Kurtz honest here. Gaps opened up a little bit, had been hovering right around 4 or 5 tenths. It was 7 tenths across the stripe last time around. Looks to be a similar gap right now, so George has really responded. He had to be worried when he saw that BMW looming ever larger in the rear view facing camera there. But he kind of stymied the charge and has just done his job, hitting his marks, but still got to complete and seal the deal here with a handful of laps left.
I think you're right. I mean, when Samantha jumped in, she had a gap to overcome that was, what, 3 or 4 seconds? And that came down fast. Quickly. Yeah. And that had to make everyone at the CrowdStrike by Riley team just a little bit nervous. But since then, this was maybe 25 minutes or so ago, Samantha right here in this corner was able to pull alongside briefly. Might have been her best chance, and George Kurtz stout at his defense, able to keep her behind, and there she has stayed ever since.
Still a solid day. Her progress continues. She's gaining more and more confidence, and they've done it right. They've given her a lot of seat time across different championships, different disciplines, and it's finally coming good. She's no longer just driving around, she's racing now. She's racing for position.
How impressive was this young man too, Neil Verhagen? My first chance to get to really watch him much in person, caught a glimpse of him from time to time in some of his Nürburgring 24 races he's done. But looking at it firsthand, you can see why BMW has invested so much in his future.
Yeah, he's really impressive. I'm like you, I haven't seen him race very often. I've seen him come up through the ranks, and obviously a BMW Motorsport driver. As I said to you yesterday, I thought he's a European until I saw him on the entry list here this weekend and recognized that he's from America. But nonetheless, he's been taught well. He's come up against a very stiff young talent pool there at BMW, and if you can succeed and you come out on top, there's a lot of young drivers who are left by the wayside, and he's kind of the cream of that new crop, and he certainly proved his worth here this weekend. A great stand-in for John Edwards. Unfortunately, we don't think we're going to see much of him this season. There's talk of him maybe coming back for the Indy 8 Hour, but he's going to focus on a different championship moving forward and focus on some personal stuff at the same time.
I think you could be of two minds about how to assess the weekend for this car, this team. Yesterday, it looked like they were kind of out to lunch, really struggled to get the pace in the car. Farnbacher had a miraculous qualifying lap for this race here today that put them up front. And Harrison has done a nice job of damage limitation in a car that frankly doesn't look like she's totally comfortable with. Yeah, you want to win, but to come home second, and again, to lose to a car that's at least not a full season rival. Yes, you'd rather have the points, of course, but not altogether a horrible result when the pace hasn't necessarily been there in the way it has been earlier in the year.
Yeah, and when you think about it, you think about the pro lineups having to have a silver driver on board. I mean, Kenton Cook is one of the strongest silver drivers you're going to find anywhere. So you put him and Daniel Morad together, they're going to be tough to beat.
The only question, I think, was how quickly would Kenton adapt to this car, this team on these tires. I think the smart money was not very long, and it only took him 6 or 7 laps, right? Because that's all he got before qualifying. And he was right on the pace instantly in race 1 yesterday. That is carried over to today, too. The lone hiccup really being stopping at the wrong pit stall.
Yeah. He was beating himself up about rather than celebrating the victory, but he's a perfectionist, he's a professional. He doesn't want to have any blip, and he felt that was maybe, he gave away an opportunity there. Certainly Daniel Morad hit his little slip, but then they managed to get back to the lead.
I think we'll get the white flag this time by. Leaders are doing laps under 1 minute and 50 seconds. Yeah, we're definitely in white flag territory here. There it is. So 1 lap to go for George Kurtz. Samantha Tan still blinking those headlights, perhaps in vain, as she continues her pursuit of the class leader. This is the 3rd placed car overall, fastest car on the racetrack for the bulk of this second stint. Kenton Cook completing this charge that Daniel Morad began. Daniel raced from 13th to 9th overall in his stint, and then Kenton Cook has done his share of the heavy lifting to get them into the 3rd position overall and the lead, crucially, in the pro class.
George Kurtz, nice comfortable gap now, as big as it's been since the middle part of this stint. Had a bigger lead initially, and then that was erased rapidly by Samantha Tan, who was absolutely flying when she jumped on board this ST Racing BMW. And then George kind of found his rhythm. In the later stages, it seems like he's just got the edge in pace as well. So it'll be a brilliant victory if he can complete this lap. 4th of the season, and really closes the gap in terms of the championship lead. It'll just be a few points heading to Road America.
One last time down Madison Avenue here at beautiful Virginia International Raceway, a staple on the calendar since it first came onto the schedule in 2017 and very much a part of the fabric of this championship. George Kurtz looking to complete the weekend sweep. It would be a 3-race win streak that would include 2 in Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS and a class win in a little old race called the 24 Hours of Le Mans. George Kurtz through hog pen and down the front straightaway. Samantha Tan will be in the photo, but won't be close enough to challenge. Kurtz, Brown, and Crown Strike by Riley sweep the weekend in the Pro-Am class at VIR second to the ST Racing team of Samantha Tan and Neil Verhagen. Pro Class wins on both days to TR3 Racing's Kenton Cook and Daniel Morad.
Excellent job. Just what they were hoping to achieve by making this entry, and a solid day for Ashton Harrison as well.
Harrison, Farnbacher, and Racer's Edge come home 5th overall, 2nd in class. Adelson trips the line, 6th overall. Phil Garris completes the Pro Class podium in 3rd in class, 7th overall. Manny Franco got that Conquest car up to 8th overall and 4th in class there late in the going. Nice job by Manny. Now this battle that has been raging this entire stint, it looks like Bartone will hold off Smithson, 12th and 13th in the overall running order. Great opening weekend in the Pro-Am ranks for Bartone, Chris Dedulu, and the Real Time Racing team.
Not sure it gets any sweeter than this. Period of the season that George Kurtz is sharing. Majority of the time driving alongside Colin Brown. Colin celebrating 2 big 24-hour wins this year already, with the win at Le Mans, also the Rolex at Daytona earlier this season, and then the pair of them will head off to try and have another taste of victory at the big CrowdStrike Spa 24-hour in a couple of weeks.
Massive undertaking for George Kurtz when you think about it. 24 hours of racing last weekend, 3 hours of racing in this championship, plus 2 40-minute races in GT America this weekend, 6 hours at Watkins Glen next weekend, and 24 hours at Spa the following weekend. He's also a CEO of a global cybersecurity company par excellence. George Kurtz is a busy man.
He really is, and disappointing there. We just saw Chandler Hull accelerating down the straightaway on the cool-down lap, and what might have been for that group, I think they were definitely on for at least a runner-up finish. I think Kent and Cook would have given them a hard time for the win, but they'll be kicking themselves for that pit lane speed violation during their mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, the report is it happened on the exit of the pit lane, so maybe Chandler hit that button just a little too soon, or perhaps some other kind of technical glitch or gremlin, but whatever the case, that speed limit was tripped, and that cost Chandler Hall, Bill Oberlin, and Bimmerworld dearly here on home soil, that's for sure. Cars making their way down the pit lane into Parc Fermé or into Victory Lane, depending on the circumstances, and very soon we'll have a chance to hear from our race leaders. Let's take a look at results from our second race of the weekend. Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS. Colin Brown, George Kurtz, a 3rd overall win, 4th class win in 2023, ahead of Neil Verhagen and Samantha Tan from ST Racing. Kenton Cook, Daniel Borat, they sweep it for TR3 Racing in the Pro Class, 1 overall, and then 1 simply a class win, 3rd in the overall rankings. Rest of the podium for Pro-Am, Luck and Halen. For Pro, Harrison Farnbacher 2nd, McAleer Phil Garris come home in the 3rd and final podium spot in the Pro-Am ranks. A chance now to head down to Victory Circle. Let's hear from Amanda Busick and some race winners here at VIR.
Colin, I was talking to George at the top of the show, and he was saying how the overall win is possible for this duo, and you guys just did it. When you get those, the top step of the podium overall, how much pride is there?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously, super proud of the job George did. You know, we had a fast car all week, so really proud of these rally guys. And, man, it's been a great, last couple of weeks, I would say. I mean, the Le Mans win yesterday, win today, get the overall today. It's pretty special for obviously both George and I, but all the CrowdStrike folks, all the folks that support this program. And, yeah, man, just what a week, what a week.
George, the guys were talking about your schedule of late, where you've been, where you're going. Oh, and you're a business owner. How do you manage it all?
You know, it's trying to fit it all in. Sadly, I don't sleep enough, but put as much effort in work as I do in racing, and it was a fantastic result. The guys gave us a great car, and, it was a good race. Sam kept me honest the whole time, so lots of pressure, but we got the job done, and big-time overall win.
Great job and a massive points weekend, gentlemen.
That's a good point, Amanda. Certainly a big swing for them. That has them right in the thick of the fight now.
It really does. I think they're just a handful of points behind the number 120 machine of Adelson and Skier here, heading to Road America. So big weekend, maximum points, and things are looking good.
Gregory Romanelli and crew, joined there by Kenton Cook, deputizing this weekend for Ziad Gondor, celebrating a Pro Class win. Gregory runs a nice little operation based out of Florida. Kenton takes that helmet off. What a weekend for him. 3 wins and a second across 4 races in GT3 and GT4 competition.
He'll be disappointed. Didn't get all 4 of them.
You think he's going to mention stopping at the wrong stall in this interview, Cal?
Hopefully he's over that.
He brought it up in his victory interview for GT4 yesterday. Completely different race. I would hope by now that is firmly rooted in the past. Can't wait to hear from him. There comes Daniel Morad fighting in. A little bit of inspiration on the helmet as well for Kenton Cook. Let's now take the chance to hear from our Pro Class winners.
Well, Daniel, I know that Ziad has been incentivizing you all for some podium visits this weekend. Well, now the top step in both races. Why was Kenton the perfect pick for this effort?
Yeah, incentivized with smiles and really nice words. No, Kenton was awesome. This was an awesome pairing this weekend. And again, I said this yesterday, thanks to Ziad for allowing us to have this opportunity to represent TR3. And it's been a long time. These boys have been pushing hard, different manufacturers, but they found a home with Mercedes-AMG. Amazing family, amazing car, great co-driver. He's a friend, and now we're race winners together, so it's great. He's a lot taller than me on the podium, too. I need a step ladder. Can we organize that?
We'll see if I can find you one. And Kenton, goodness, just on track today to be able to track down Ash and get the win in class for you guys. When you tell the story of this weekend in holidays to come, years to come, how will it begin?
Well, first of all, I want to dedicate this one to my dad, so happy Father's Day. Yeah, it's a good one. It's been a good weekend with Random Vandals and TR3, and we've had some wins, and it's been amazing to drive with Daniel, learn from him, and be able to co-drive with someone like him is amazing. So it was a fun day, and we put new tires on where I think everyone else started on their new set. So I think that really helped us in the end with the hot conditions. The Pirelli still held up pretty good.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Interesting insight into the race strategy. A very limited tire allocation on a given weekend, which means at some point you're going to be compromised during the race and have to run a set of scuffs instead of a set of stickers. And they elected to do that early in the race and set up Kenton to make that sprint to the finish on the best set of rubber possible.
Yeah, they certainly ticked all of the boxes in terms of execution on the racetrack and strategy with that as well. So great result for that group. I mean, they came here with a firm intention. They stacked the deck a little bit with that lineup, and the drivers brought it through.
Sure did. Great teamwork, great execution in the pit lane. That caught out a couple of teams, let's not forget. And they were near perfection when they got their opportunity to make a difference there in the pit. Hello, Twitch, says Daniel Morad. Yeah, he's got a rabid following, not just on Twitch. I suspect some are watching by other means. But here we go, race 2 highlights here, and it all started with Robbie Foley on the pole. Great opening stint for Robbie and Turner Motorsport in their return to this championship. Good battles all throughout. We got Racer's Edge, ST Racing going at it. This was that move. We heard Neil Verhagen talk about it. Not normally the place you see a pass made, but he made it stick.
That was the move of the weekend. Then Daniel Morad got his elbows out as well. This is a great move that he made here in the early going.
Got past Elliott Skiers. He continued to charge to the front. Another move in a difficult spot here. This took a couple of laps, but this time Neil Verhagen got it done on Jan Halen.
Yeah, he learned the first time around and just slowed it down a little bit more that time and got the move done.
Asiclo drifting towards the back in his stint. He struggled in the second half of his run with that TRG rather. Aston, the TR3 Mercedes, goes through. This was a big moment. Delay leaving the pits for Turner cost them not just the lead, but 3 positions. 1, 2, 3, 4 in Pro-Am, all coming through the shot before we get to the erstwhile race leader from Turner. And Barletta ultimately would stumble down to 10th overall, but it was just his second race at this level. We've got cars coming through the S's. We've got Kenton Cook making his move here on Barletta in his march to the front.
Yeah, Kenton was on the charge. We knew he had the pace, and this is the move for the class win. Gets inside Ashton Harris. A little bit risky with the pace advantage that he had with many minutes to go. Little nudge there, and Ashton gets out in the dust, has to control it, and Kenton is through.
Great save. Both cars continued on. Kenton Cook to victory. Ashton Harrison to second in the class. Victory in the Pro Class for TR3. George Kurtz, though, and CrowdStrike by Riley, they were the winners in the overall ranks as well as in Pro-Am, and there's the celebration. George Kurtz, Colin Brown, race winners for the 4th time in 2023. Podium's underway at VIR. Charlie Luck, Jan Halen, they'll take their spot on the rostrum. It's Halen on the left, Luck on the right, Verhagen and Tan. Samantha on the left, Neil on the right. They come home second, hard-fought second, though, for the ST Racing duo. And here come the Pro-Am and overall winners, George Kurtz and Colin Brown.
Some great drives there. A couple of moves there by Verhagen were top shelf, really, really quality.
One of the breakout stars of the weekend. I think he and Kenton Cook are going to have to arm wrestle for it. Take your pick. Both were extremely strong in their series debuts. Plenty of hardware to show for the weekend's effort, too. Trophies go up high, and very soon will find themselves in the trophy case, which is becoming increasingly crowded for George Kurtz. Rounding into form as a GT3 driver, and this will be a vigorous celebration as it comes on the Sunday. Champagne spraying in the time-honored style, started by Dan Sexton Gurney on the rostrum at Le Mans all those years ago.
Let's hear it one more time for your Pro-Am.
Top 2 overall, top 3 in Pro-Am, celebrating right there, and very soon we'll welcome the Pro Class Podium up onto the stage, headed by Kenton Cook and Daniel Morad, of course. Here's a look at the winner's circle area here at VIR. Top-notch facility, Calvin. Always love coming here. Great to see so many of the friendly faces we've come to know over the years. Kerrigan Smith among them, who leads the effort here on a day-to-day basis at this great racetrack.
Yeah, it's a treat to come back here. It's old school. It's a beautiful racetrack. It's very demanding. It's very edgy, but all of the drivers love it. And Kerrigan Smith, Connie Nyholm always welcome their fans, the racers alike, and it's an enjoyable weekend. It's fun to sit out on the banks and watch the action. And it's great to call. There's always plenty of spicy stuff going on.
Bit of a break now in the schedule with the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa coming up in a few weeks' time. But up next for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, a trip to another classic venue, Road America.
Yeah, longest circuit we run on, just a little bit over 4 miles. It's been resurfaced. We understand the grip is amazing, so it's going to be fun to see these cars scream around that racetrack.
Might have a chance to see some GT3 track records that weekend. If you're in the area, urge you to come up, and come up early, because the driver parade that's become so popular in recent years, that's back. Most of the race cars you'll see on the racetrack that weekend will be driving from the track into the village of Elkhart Lake itself, and it's a great chance for fans to get up close and personal, not just with the cars, but also the stars that drive them. The access is unparalleled.
Yeah, it's a special place, a very different vibe. It's very old school as well, and you know, you get in downtown Elkhart Lake, some great restaurants. It's just an enjoyable place to go. It's one of my favorites.
That's coming up in August. After that layoff for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, Pro Class celebrates. There at the center, Daniel Morad standing next to, as he admitted, his much taller teammate, Kenton Cook. Then on the left, Phil Garris, McAleer. Surprisingly quiet weekend for them, but able to get a decent result. And over on the other side, second place here today, Mario Farnbacher and Ashton Harrison making the most of a challenging weekend. They did that at COTA as well, and that keeps them in the middle of the championship fight. That fight will roll on to Road America, which means it's time to say so long from Virginia International Raceway. Thanks for joining us for the coverage. For Calvin, Amanda, and our entire team, my name is Ryan Marine. So long from VIR.